Hello, welcome to the Hoodie and Oz Pod. I think we settled on a name. I like it.
It's just came to me. So
I think it's perfect.
I figured I'd shoot you a text. It's easy. It's
Short
us.
and simple. That's us. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't need to really sugarcoat anything. We're here.
So the Hoodie and Oz Pod. If this is your first time watching, thank you.
Thank
if
you.
it's not your first time watching, also thank you. But the Hoodie and Oz Pod, we talk sports, and to get right into it, one of the biggest, I think, topics in sports coming from this weekend was Juwan Howard.
Yeah, that was.
I can't say he was throwing punches, but swinging.
Yeah, I mean, he made contact. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, look, you want to break it down from the beginning here. The timeout, right?
Yeah, that was. I mean, from a sportsmanship point of view, I guess there's some people think there's unwritten rules or things that are just unspoken, but kind of true to the game. And obviously, Juwan, being an ex-player, I'm not sure if the Wisconsin head coach played before or not, but Juwan clearly felt strongly about the game was out of reach.
Yep. And it was.
Let's let the time run out, and let me go watch the film and get better.
So a little bit of rubbing it in, I did feel like probably okay in that situation.
It could have been taken that way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And he probably was doing that, if we're being honest, because Michigan is kind of.
It's Michigan.
Yeah, well, they were really good last year.
Yeah, no, they were great.
So and they were beating up on everybody, and maybe he kind of felt some kind of way, or maybe it is just it's a Michigan thing. Anyways,
and it's Big Ten. I mean, dude, we know about this conference matchups. And it's getting close to March, so he's got to show his team that he's got that fire to their ass and say, hey, we're here. I'm willing to talk shit, so don't even look dumb.
And I will definitely, hopefully, and we haven't even covered baseball at any point yet.
Oh, absolutely.
But baseball, the unwritten rules thing that you said. So I'm somebody who, listen, I think unwritten rules are dumb. I'm never for them.
Yeah, no, because if it's not written, it's the ball game.
Right.
Right?
So look, there's rules there for a reason, and there's not rules there for a reason. So I look at it this way. Do I love that the coach did that? No, not in any way, shape, or form. But he did it, and it is what it is.
Yes. It wasn't illegal. He wasn't breaking the rules.
So, but you go to the next part of it where the handshake line. Now here's Juwan. Since he was disrespected, felt like he wanted to disrespect him back and say, you know what, we don't even need to have a conversation. Absolutely. We're not shaking hands.
Yep.
What you did was wrong to me, so I don't, that's a respect thing, and you're not getting my respect.
Which I've always looked at as the true ultimate, not only disrespect to that other coach or that other team, but to the game itself. I mean, you line up against that other team, you go for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, however long it is.
Yep.
Shake hands and say good game.
And and no matter what the heat of the moment is.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard some absolutely crazy shit about them wanting to get rid of handshake lines. That would be the most absurd thing in the world. So please don't. Let's not go that direction.
I'm terrible for not remembering who it was. You know what I think it might have been? LeVar Arrington, because sometimes when I'm away to work,
LeVar's a dog.
I listen to LeVar and
Brady
and them. But so, if I'm not mistaken, it was them. But he said, we're going to punish the kids for the adults not being able to get along in the handshake. And you've been doing it for centuries, by the way. Literally over 100 years.
Yeah.
You've been doing the handshake line.
Hands.
And because one fight between two coaches, now the kids can't do what they're supposed to do. Come on.
It's so unfortunate that, oftentimes that's what happens, the adults, the parents, they let the shit overflow, and then it affects the kids. Their season gets canceled, or else a coach acts an ass.
And so I want to say two things here. One, Juwan being an ex-player, the emotions to him may be a little more extreme than for most coaches.
Absolutely, that's
what you brought up. I think that maybe he, especially because he didn't just go from being he was out of the NBA for a little while, moseying around.
No.
He went NBA coaching as an assistant coach, and then coaching as the head coach there within 5 years or 3 years.
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround.
He was still a player in his own mind. The real reason he was hired as a coach is because he could be related to the players. So, he's still a player in his own mind. So I feel like the passion and that kind of feeling and stuff might be why it is. The other part I want to say, So in the handshake line, the disrespect thing, I agree with you. Like that is the ultimate form of this is now, like now I am drawing my line.
It's personal, yeah.
What you did to me is why I feel this way, whether that's right or wrong, and whether what he did is right or wrong in return. Two wrongs don't make it right, whatever. But I do feel like you're absolutely right, and that was the message he was trying to send. But you take it one step further. Juwan said, "Don't touch me.
Don't put your hands on me, sir." And he did, yeah. So
twice too, because he asked him and he kind of removed him, and then he put his hands back. He said don't, and then he still again, not okay, but
I mean, don't put your hands on me. We're grown men. I mean, there was absolutely no grounds for him to put his hands on another grown man. So I
agree.
And we wanted to get into some of the specifics and particulars of the situation.
Yeah.
And I think there was some unfair, not punishment, because everyone kind of got punished a little bit, but it was weird. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to me was the fact that the Wisconsin coach, he got fined, but he doesn't miss any games. And if you're gonna suspend Juwan for the rest of the season,
one game at minimum for the other
one game. I mean, he literally warned you, don't touch me.
So, and here's how I look at this. And whether the unwritten rules or not, I also, and when it comes to anything, a governing body making a punishment or a decision on anything, I look at things this way. You kind of have to still be a human about it. And whether you like it or not, him calling the timeout with 13 seconds to go is what catapulted this whole situation. If he doesn't do that, are we having this conversation?
But he's not in the wrong for doing it.
No. But here's where I do find it to be where we can go from there is, okay, he did that. All right, not good. Juwan blowing him off, also not good. But he did tell him not to put my hands on him. And then, it did. Where was the everyone kind of being like, all right, let's just walk away instead? It felt like it was kind of egged on until somebody made a bad move.
It surely was.
And to me, as adults, the head coach of the other team, intent is a big thing with me. And he was intending for a situation to break out.
And it did.
Don't ask for the smoke if you don't want the fire.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of how I feel about it.
Absolutely.
So that's why I feel like he should be suspended a game, because you need to set an example as much as Juwan needs to set an example.
Sure.
They both do.
Yeah,
you need to set an example just as much as
NCAA.
Exactly. So to me, he wasn't setting the example, and that is the overall goal of what we're having the conversation about in this situation. So. That's why I feel like he should have gotten something, like you said. In the second coach coming in there, I don't know what happened there, but I definitely felt like he either said something disrespectful or something was going on there.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's because again, as much as we can talk about Juwan being out of place and he should have did what he did, I don't think he just swings at the third guy, a random third guy coming into the conversation just because that guy is standing there. Something provoked that as well.
Something triggered it,
And you can do an investigation to find out. There's 30 freaking people standing there.
There's 30 million cameras.
And everything has microphones on top of it, right? So, and there's media people there that are unbiased were right there that are going to be able to tell you what was said from both sides. So again, if he egged it on in any way, shape, or form, something further needs to go to him, and that's
No, exactly. So,
but Juwan deserved what he got. Cause
he got a 5-game suspension.
You can't do what you did.
Yep, he got the 5-game suspension. He got a $40,000 fine. So I mean, that's he got punished 100%.
Yeah.
2 of his players got punished for the situation. Terry William II and Musa Diabate. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Again, the Wisconsin coach.
$5 fine if we don't.
The Wisconsin coach, like we mentioned, he got a $10,000 fine, so didn't really hit his pocket too hard,
right.
And he's not really being reprimanded for putting his hands on another grown man.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say. We'll also, let me keep it real here. Somebody's probably paying for that from his side, and the other side. And I'm honestly this is not even something that I think they should have added in on some punishment or nothing like that. But watching the Wisconsin coaches walk away and the smug looks on their face, that didn't sit right with me either, because you knew you provoked him to do something.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
So to me, that wasn't, you're not looking any better in the situation when you're walking away, being proud that you just got some guy to swing on you. That's not
and I mean,
you're not provoking peace here. And
like we just said, the coach's actions led to the players' reaction.
Right.
So we had two players from Michigan suspended.
And they did swing. They were swinging.
Oh yeah. One player from Wisconsin, Jacoby Neath, he's also going to serve a 1-game suspension. So I mean, this is nitty gritty time. So
and that is big for both
the
teams.
coaches showed that they didn't really give a shit about where they were in the season, that it's about to be March, what they were jeopardizing. So why should the players? I mean,
and Michigan isn't having the best season. You know what I mean?
No. So there's some frustration.
Their expectation was top
Chill,
notch.
Des. You called it.
Again, maybe he didn't.
No, he did.
No, he did. But no, he didn't catch it. Yeah, I'm a Birds fan. But Michigan, high expectations.
Yeah, very high expectations.
Low execution this year. Wisconsin, I mean, I'm with you. Like, you know where you're at in the season. Like, why are you trying to provoke a fight?
And they got blown out in an interconference game. I mean, that's gonna, and then you call a timeout. So I mean, the tensions were high, but obviously the coaches' dickheadness spilled over, and then unfortunately everyone has to suffer, some more than others.
So before we move on, I think we both agree. Juwan got what he deserved.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On the sense of you deserve the 5
Yep.
years. The other thing I wanted to add, and I don't remember the incident fully, but I do remember people brought it up, and I kind of started to remember it. He had an incident with the Maryland coach last year in the Big Ten tournament.
I vaguely do.
I don't remember exactly what it was over, but it was in the handshake line.
It was,
So when you have multiple, incidents like that, exactly, that I think probably was added into the thought process here.
Your actions. I mean,
but that goes into my thought of him being a player still inside, and it's just like the emotions at that moment. Yeah, and that is something that I think if he's going to continue to be the coach he is, and he's been a good coach. I like him a lot. So
I mean, he was a great player. He always, I mean, from what I could tell when he was in Miami and stuff with LeBron.
I was about to say, we're big LeBron fans.
He looked like a great teammate. LeBron loved him.
And so as a LeBron fan, I did clutch on to him then, and I was like, oh wow. And as much as he's talked about glowingly by everybody in that organization at that time, been a great recruiter.
And he was great on the Fab Five, 30 for 30.
He was. And I wouldn't be me if I didn't throw the Philly connection in here. Phil Martelli, the old St. John's coach,
I did see that
is
today.
going to be the head coach for the 5 games. So
the interim coach, and he clearly said, "I'm not Juwan. I'm gonna be Phil Martelli."
Right. Yeah.
And his teams are always very scrappy.
I am a Temple fan, so me and him never got along, but he's a good coach, man. Great.
Did he coach Delonte West and
Yes,
Jimmy
he did.
Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the head coach of them.
I remember
him and Chaney had some of the greatest battles, but I do remember when Chaney was retired and just how gracious he was.
Oh, absolutely.
I've always been a big fan of him, and I've hated how much I like him because he's on the enemy.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Sure.
Now not as much anymore, but I still don't like Michigan, but I like Juwan. And it's cool to see him in the front. So moving past that.
Moving on.
Look, we didn't even have it really in the segments here, but I figured we had a good natural conversation about it, so I figured we can talk about Aaron Rodgers.
It seems like when Aaron talks, everyone gathers round.
And so here's the thing with Aaron. I think everything's super calculated. He knows everyone's going to talk all that.
He knows what he's doing.
Right, he obviously knows what he's doing. But at the end of the day, like, there is some genuineness to, like, he feels something in a moment and he just goes to that. He gravitates to whatever that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's on, like, I think he's really just taking that corner with his career to say, like, hey, I'm focused on me, and I'm only going to give a shit about the things that I need to focus my energy and give a shit about. And it's very evident. He does what he wants. He says what he wants, but it's all very articulate. It's very educated. All of his takes seem to be very calculated, as you said. So my thing about Aaron is I think he knows what he's doing. He knows how to build it up. And when he put that message out last night, what did you think he was going to tell you?
I agree with you on that. That was a great way to get some people talking about him, which I don't think that doesn't hurt his...
Get some clicks going.
That doesn't hurt him at all. But I also think that he wanted to help his friend out because he loves people. There ain't no question about that. The people he loves them hard.
Absolutely.
And like Pat McAfee is one of them, and he knew he was going on Pat's show.
Yep.
I know people are going to watch that, and he had what did I calculate? Like about 1/60th of the whole country,
the entire nation
watching. At least of the adults, I think is how I calculated it out.
That was great. That was. I mean, so Pat was floored. Aaron wasn't even on, and there was like 87,000 people waiting for him.
So like that, so that adds into the message a little more.
Oh yeah.
And on top of it, like he actually did feel what he wrote. Like he, he was just very happy and thankful for everything that was in everybody in his life.
Very reflective. What I took away from it was, when you're in the season and you're playing and you're Aaron Rodgers or you're anyone who plays at that level, you're so consumed with that week, the current thing that's going on that week, and week to week he had a bunch of things going on that weren't football related, even going on in his head. Mm-hmm. So not only did he not have time to reflect then, he didn't even have time to really, I don't think, know what was coming out of his own mouth at times. So when he went into his little chamber and where he mentioned a cleanse or whatever that may mean, I think he really had time to sit down and say, okay, well, let me step out of this and let me sit in someone else's shoes who loves me, who supports me, who said, and then he was like, oh man, well, I put these people, I made them really vulnerable by just speaking what was on my mind, and they were taking shots, they were hearing things that they probably shouldn't have had to go through. And I don't think that Aaron should be the fault of that, but I think that just goes to show that these guys are human, and they also need some time to reflect and to bounce back and say, hey, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that. It's not how I really intended it to be.
And what you just said there, I think, is what something that I've never been able to, like when I talk about Aaron Rodgers, I think I come off a little negative, but what you said there is something I've always been relatable to him. Like, as much as he's always, and I didn't like him being in his career because he always threw people under the bus in my mind, but it was more of accountability. And right there is accountability.
Yeah, sure.
And Aaron Rodgers is like, he took it, right? Like, that's not going to be talked about throughout the media. No. That's not going to be all over the.
No, they're not going to talk about that like they did about his vaccine status.
But to me, that is like I think you're right. Like it's harder to formulate a process when you are fully dug into. I mean, his job His job wasn't 60 hours a week. His job was 160 hours.
Yeah,
a week.
Exactly.
And then while he was sleeping, he was dreaming about that job.
Yeah.
So
and waking up and being slandered on every single outlet he possibly could.
And that's the other thing. Like, I don't care about how he feels about any of that kind of stuff, but I am intrigued on how he feels about things in the world. Whether I agree with things in the world that he says or not, or whether it's that, or whether it has to do with football, whatever it is.
I think it's intriguing just watching him grow as a human being.
And that was just, that's exactly where I was going to go with it. Like, it's actually really awesome to see, like, where he, like you just said, he didn't understand where he was last year. Listen, like, he's a human. You're allowed to be lost. Like, we're all allowed to be lost.
Yeah.
And something that he does, and I try to listen to the world as well type thing.
Listen to the universe.
And I feel like him and
that's why at the Pat McAfee show.
But that's why I love. That's why I think there's things that I really do love about him. That's a real genuine how he felt about his two wide receivers. Yeah. Like he said today in that interview with Pat, that when they took the picture and they separated because he always stands in between them and they have their own, it was about their love and friendship individually and as a group and all that. Like, that is something that I fully can understand, relate to, connect, and something that I love. Like, because I love, and that is just such that's not football. That's him and his boy. Like, exactly.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he tagged Randall Cobb's wife and Bakhtiari's wife in the post as a thanks, as like the Friday date night. So like. I took away that Aaron and all these guys need a portion of time to step away and reflect on just what goes on around them, because they live such a different life and they don't get that chance on a daily basis, and they're either told one of two things: you're right or you're wrong. Yeah. No one's listening to what you say. You're either right or you're wrong.
That is very true. There's no context. And that is, to me, context is a big thing with everything in life, but especially with what you're saying there, it's just one or the other, and context is everything in that. Because, listen, whether it was the COVID thing or about a play that he made in the third quarter, context is going to matter the most about why he made that decision in that moment. 100%. For whatever it is.
Yeah, and I mean,
I think that also we've been having this conversation under the pretext that the people watching are following along that, like, he didn't dismantle, but a lot of people's mind, he almost tried to dismantle the Packers. And listen, whether it was a calculated version of trying to do that, whatever it was, the fact that he grew and he loved the fact that they were like, no, Aaron, whether we agree with you're right or not, we're just going to say you're right, and we're going to give you everything you want, and we're going to do what we can. He appreciated that. And like, dude, you can't ask for any more from a franchise or a player there.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're an organization who has Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and you're not asking him for his input on things, there's a problem.
We're not. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that 100%.
I fully think Aaron had every ground to stand on to say, hey, listen, like, involve me. I want some say.
That's back to the being intrigued by everything he talks about, not just about football, but especially about football. When it comes to football, that is my favorite thing to listen to Aaron Rodgers talk about. And I do feel like in those meetings and conversations and everything, he's going to have a lot more to offer than almost anybody in the conversation, no matter who they are.
Yeah, but, on the flip side of that, I would say, if the Packers are giving him this, I see him going back there because I think now it's to the point where I think Aaron wants to be like, all right, we did it in Green Bay because no one wanted us to. But with him getting this new respect and loyalty from the organization, he's got to go win a Super Bowl. He's got to go win a Super Bowl.
So a couple of things there. I think last year, if you would have asked me, like, when he was doing all that, or having those conversations, I wasn't hot and cold, but like one day I'd be like, it's 50-50, one day I'd be like, no, he's definitely out of there. Right now, I'm 100% with you. I don't see him going anywhere, but what I do think right now, he's playing the let's get Devontae a real contract game, but they're going to have to franchise Devontae to get those conversations to continue. That's fine. It's normal practice.
I think as long as they're transparent and they're open and they say, hey, Devontae, and Devontae goes back to Aaron and says, hey, I feel like they're being real. I feel like they're being honest.
Yep.
Everything's on the table. I think they'll work together.
But the two things and I agree with that. Yeah. But the two things that need to happen then, if they get them both, they need to go win a Super Bowl because
they need to go win a Super Bowl.
They are mortgaging a lot of. They're gonna have to do a lot of work in the future once everyone is gone, or even if Aaron's still there. They're gonna have to do a lot of work in the future to build this at some point because you can't kick it down the road forever as much as you'd like to. The salary cap just doesn't work that way, and that's what the NFL is great about. The Packers are like the Steelers in the sense of they always do such a good job no matter where their cap's at, but it is still a concern. There's just no question about it.
It's always a concern, and I mean, they just need to button up a few things, and I think they'll be.
But as long as you have Aaron Rodgers,
you're in it.
And he's this committed, which, by the way, when he did talk about football in the Pat McAfee interview, he sounded pretty committed, I felt like, to football. And not to a team, but to football.
I don't want to be one of those people who, like, reads into, like, every one of the context, but he did say, when he was talking about his recent treatment that they tried or whatever he did say to Pat, he said, well, it's kind of something you would do if you were getting ready to do something really athletic. So, I mean, So, and
he's getting himself back.
I don't think he's going anywhere. Not yet.
I would agree. But what they're gonna have to do, and we'll talk about that. They're gonna have to probably draft some defense and get them ready. But we'll talk about that for sure eventually. Wink, wink.
We'll get there.
Keeping to just last.
The week that was,
the All-Star game in the NBA, the All-Star weekend, I guess. Because my guy Maxey had some funny moments in the first Friday night game, and then
I had to work Friday, so I actually missed that. But I did catch the highlights. That dude's a superstar in the making.
Oh, I love Maxey. Listen, he's my guy, and I was arguing with Sixers fans for a year and a half, and apparently I won the argument. Everyone was like, and I'm like, listen, just give him a minute to grow. Like, he's not scoring 30 as a rookie because he's not capable of doing this. Like, he's gonna figure it out. And as much as I'm not the biggest Doc Rivers fan in the playoffs, Doc Rivers is a great developer of talent, and there's no question about that. Maxey is a very great example of it. Matisse and so on and so on.
I was able to catch Saturday night.
Yeah, I was about to say that we move on to the actual All-Star weekend.
Yeah, that was actually like, it's my favorite. Like, it's just
okay.
I love how TNT does it.
It's a nostalgic kind of thing.
Definitely.
It's almost like the home run derby. Like, I still watch the home run derby and as in the NHL skills competition. I still watch all of that. Like I was when I was a kid.
Yeah, sure.
And it's really, to me, like, you have to understand what you're going to watch. I feel like a lot of people, I didn't iterate this well enough when I asked you about if you liked All-Star games or not. I love All-Star games because I don't look at them as like some kind of I know what I'm getting, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what I'm going to watch. And I just like watching all of that talent no matter how hard you're trying or not. I love seeing all that talent in one area. Like, because I know they're all ballers. And I knew if we did flip that switch and turn this on, which we'll talk about. It gets fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the Saturday night stuff, I thought that like the new skills thing was interesting.
Yeah, they always they change that up too much.
I like the effort.
I used to love the old one.
I was just gonna say the actual running and all that. What they did at the end, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do too. That's my favorite.
I last minute 3-point contest. I was devastated that Steph wasn't in it. Clearly, he would have won. But I threw some last minute money on Patty Mills. It was just he was like the second highest favorite.
Okay.
I was just like, he'll make some fall. But Karl Anthony Towns, when
I
started watching,
my boy texted me. He put money on Karl Anthony Towns.
Good for him. Good for him.
He texted me like literally right before it started. We were having a conversation.
That's
about it.
awesome.
He's like I'm doing cat, and I'm like,
dude, he can shoot the rock, man.
Yeah,
but it's almost like he just like puts it in. It's weird.
So, did you see the video of the NBA? I saw it on Twitter, but I'm sure it was all over all their social medias. Of Steph talking to him. Steph was asking Steph about when do you look down when you pick it up. Yeah. Steph was giving him a whole tutorial, and if I saw that before, I saw it the day after. Yeah. If I would have seen that before, I probably would have been like, you know what, I'm gonna take him.
Yeah, see, that's
because I knew he could shoot,
that's
but like
boots on the ground.
I always get but I always get like nervous about the 3-point competition because other than Steph, everybody's seen Steph and Larry Bird. Mm-hmm. Other than Steph and Larry Bird, everybody does seem to struggle with their shot. At some point, most of them find it.
Well, because it's not natural.
You're catching the ball and shooting.
It's not natural.
Or you're dribbling and shooting.
Yep.
You're literally picking the ball up off a rack and shooting.
But I mean, he was just unconscious. Like he was just.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and he had that rhythm. And once he found that rhythm, it was. I mean, yeah, I agree. He was unconscious. And he's fun, man. He's what, like 6'10" or something like that. He's the tallest guy to ever win it. But
yeah, he's definitely a big man.
Shout out to Dan Levittard. He said we're not used to people who look like him.
Yeah,
and I think that's the best way to put it. We are not used to people.
That's the new NBA, man.
And also,
that's the fun part about it.
Yeah, I mean, like Dan Levittard says all the time, I don't understand what I'm watching with this because that guy shouldn't have won the 3-point competition.
He shouldn't even have the courage to step out there.
Larry Bird is mad that somebody way taller than him.
He's pissed at the little guy.
He's like, what is going on right now?
What you guys let happen? The
man.
dunk contest was just a snooze. When a dude comes out and puts Tim's on, I forget who I was listening to, but they said, nothing special when he comes out and puts Tim's on.
I mean,
like you can't, you're not getting lift. Like, come on,
Anthony. Yeah, but I mean,
if it's not Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, I don't want to watch it.
Listen, I don't mind the dunk contest, but this was the worst one. I think I can think because somebody won by default. Like this wasn't like I didn't feel like that. Like we had a winner of the dunk contest.
Sure, yeah.
My guy won because like nobody else won.
Yeah.
And he was just the last one still dunking the basketball. Like I don't know what they can do to make it special, but I do wish there was something.
They need to just take it back to.
No, you know what? I know everybody knows what they can do to make it special. Put the right people in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I think about it, like nothing. And listen, Obi Toppin is more athletic than I will ever even be. But like, come on.
I mean, I love Bron, but Bron, this is because of you, man. We couldn't just get one.
You're not wrong. If Bron would have did it,
Bron would have shut it down.
If Bron would have did it, and here's the thing, and I'm not saying John Morant won't ever do it, but like. If Bron would have did it, John Morant would have had to do it this year, right?
Exactly.
Now I'm saying not saying Bron do it this year. Bron would have did it back in the day. Players would have would they be quicker to accept that? I guess. Yeah.
The game, on the other hand.
Whoa.
The game.
Fun.
I think they're onto something.
Fun.
Very fun.
You reminded me that they changed the format.
Yeah. No, and it's been great games ever since. So I think they figured it out.
Yeah.
Steph, I was just. I mean, I wasn't surprised, but like I was surprised he had 16 threes.
That's 16.
He couldn't miss, and like my favorite Steph. It's probably a lot of people's favorite Steph, but my favorite Steph is when he just shoots it and turns it around before it's even in. I mean, that is just the most. That is the most high level, like, shit I've ever seen in my life.
Shout out to another great sports podcaster, Chris Long. He tweeted out a photo of Steph, and it was Steph like looking for the audience, this, looking, and the ball is still 5 feet in the air, and everybody in the audience is looking at the ball, and everybody looking to rebound the ball is still looking at the ball, and Steph's literally just like orchestrating the opera, it's just, and
he's unbelievable.
And he said like this photo is not realistic, I was like, nah, that's true. Like,
you're not supposed to be that good at shooting the ball.
Yeah, back to I don't understand what we're watching. Like I don't understand. Like that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
But Steph was only 3 or 4 points away from Anthony Davis's record for most points in the All-Star game. Steph earned that MVP.
Yeah,
we're talking
100%.
about that cool trophy. Steph earned that trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, what an honor to, Vanessa was in the house. Kobe's family was in the house.
Top 75. He was one of the top 75 players.
R.I.P. Bean. Yeah, that's awesome stuff.
Steph being one of the top 75 players and like getting in that game is special too.
Oh, that's really
a couple of them playing.
Exactly. Yeah, there was only a handful.
Right. What was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, Steph. I love the fact that on Saturday. Now I watched everything on Saturday, but I actually disappeared for a couple minutes, and it was when Steph and his wife did their thing. So I didn't physically watch it, but I saw all the reaction, and my buddy was texting me.
That's literally what I was gonna say. Is
I love the booze on Saturday,
and then he did it on Sunday.
The booze a little bit on Sunday, but then the love. I mean, listen. By the end of that game, everybody was on their feet cheering, loving.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, because you want to see greatness.
Well, as I said in the beginning, it's like about All-Star games. It's the best talent all gathered, and he
just showed up all the best talent in the world, which was
Steph. Steph has been somebody that has been hated on for a long time as like he's not part of the cream of the crop, and every single milestone along the way he just knocks it over. And he's just like, yes, I am, and like that's just another example of like we're with the best talent, but I'm still the top tier talent of the best talent. You know what I mean?
They booed him and his wife, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it very well could.
I mean, it might have.
And it's Cleveland.
It's Cleveland.
Him and Cleveland got beef.
Yeah, well, he does. I was just gonna say that he ripped their hearts out many of times on purpose.
And they got him. They got him.
Oh yeah, they definitely got him, and he knows that.
You won 72 games and then lost to Cleveland, so.
But I do love that he went in there with the smile on his face. He loved the boost. He accepted them, and then he still went out there. And even if it was out of vengeance, he balled.
He's a pro.
Yeah, and I loved it. But I mean, not to take away from the MVP, but I got two more guys to talk about. My two guys.
Yeah.
Listen, LeBron hitting the game winner in Cleveland.
Unbelievable.
75th,
celebration.
Again, another part of it.
All-Star game.
Right, like, oh.
He drafted the team, 5 straight wins.
He takes that serious, and that's the other part of it.
That's...
Since they got him involved to do it, like he makes sure his guys go for it, which I love that.
I mean, when they passed him the ball, I was just like, he's gonna make this shot. Like, not that like I'm confident because he always makes the game-winning shot, but it was
that moment.
Yeah, it was that moment. It was
LeBron got those moments.
Cleveland. Yep. Steph just did what Steph did.
Yep. He couldn't end it another way.
Let's go home.
He couldn't end it another way. He had to be the guy to walk it off.
Fantastic.
Especially LeBron was on a super, and as much as I love LeBron, sometimes it was super lovey, feel good, over the top, bubbly from Friday, Saturday, even Sunday. It was like
it was little.
But it's LeBron, and everything he does when he loves it, he loves it hard
loves
too.
It hard,
he loves it just like A-Rod. Like if he loves it, he loves it.
Sure.
And so like Cleveland, he ain't gonna talk about it enough in his mind. So but it was just like I agree with you when he got that ball. It was just like. It's that moment.
Yeah.
It's he did the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've brought this up on the show before. I always tend to bet the over in the.
Yes, you did. And you said
in the NBA All-Star
just last week. Do it.
So do it when it was 218, 217. It jumped to 223 before the game, and the final score was 160 to 163. So it didn't hit. The final one didn't hit, but
I got you.
If you got it earlier in the week, then you got it. So
I got you.
I thought that was funny. A couple of the guys that I follow on Twitter were like, "Oh, if it goes above 223, I'm sorry, I might have said 123, 223." He said, "Don't touch it if it goes over 223 and a half." So I thought that was interesting. Some of those guys got it really dialed in, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was amazed by that.
Yeah, even in an All-Star game.
Yeah, backtrack. We skipped your man.
Well, I was just about to talk about him. Yeah. So Joel, 36, carried his team on his side.
Always does.
Yeah, always. But even in the All-Star games, he was literally just putting up buckets. Fun to watch.
He's unstoppable.
Your favorite moment of him? You brought it up earlier. The windmill.
The big man windmill.
Yeah.
My man just said he decided like it wasn't from the foul line. It might have just been like
close, but
yeah. But my man is what 7'2" windmill.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a thing of beauty. And a lot of those guys are like they're trying to hit those big dunks and a rim gym.
Right.
Joel threw it down.
Yes.
Smooth.
Yes.
He's a real athlete.
That's my guy right there. Yeah. And yeah, I love it.
I thought that was like it was fun to watch Steph, but like the highlight clip,
Yes.
I thought that was
play.
Watching that.
That sums an all-star game up. Yeah.
Yeah, that 7'2",
Yeah.
individual just soared through the air like that.
Maybe he should do the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he get a 50.
The NBA 75th celebration. So, like, shout out to my guy Iverson, Kobe.
Oh, yeah, Kobe,
the whole list. Really, the one thing I want to talk about is everyone's talking about Jordan and all the love he was showing. And the thing I love the most is that him and the LeBron, like...
Oh, we finally got that picture.
Because, like, you and I have always, like, you know what I mean? Like, we love them both. So, like, we've known. But, like, the fact that they told each other they...
LeBron's our guy.
Right.
And then,
Jordan's
the generation before.
Yeah. And, like, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't care who you put 1 and 2 as long as you put them 1 and 2. But, like, I don't care about the stupid debate in general at all. So, like, the fact, just seeing them embrace each other and, like...
The debate is kind of sour for me because of Kobe. Like, I try to put it to rest. Like,
That's fine with me.
I don't even want to talk about who's the best
listen.
anymore because look what we did. We wasted all these years talking about who's better than who when we lost one of them.
You're not wrong about that. And what I always hated is, and this is why I think part of why I always wanted to do a podcast and stuff. I hated the fact that there was like a war waged before. Listen, LeBron's career still isn't over, and I'm talking about this war was waged in 2008, 2009, but before
it was waged when he went on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
But I'm saying like right. But I mean like the he'll never be better, and then like it was like when it got serious and he was like starting to climb the mountain. Like it was like no, you need to make your decision now, and I'm just sitting there like
no. Why?
If we have another 5 years, which we had another 15 years after I'm having that conversation, like this is I thought it was the dumbest conversation then.
I agree 100%.
And even now that we're actually at the end and like he has a real chance to make a real argument, and both sides do, I still think it's dumb. So
and there's some people on there that like James Harden's on there. Like there's some names that I'm baffled by.
I really wish Tony Parker was on there.
Like that's insane.
If you took James Harden or Dame Lillard or you name some other name from an era that I wasn't sitting down watching all the time, I'm not gonna argue with you about it.
I mean that's just.
But like Tony Parker should have been on that list. Like I just feel like
Tony Parker was like my arch nemesis for years because not for any other reason that he was just that damn good. He was just so good.
You know what? So as when I was a kid, I hated athletes and stuff. But as I was getting older, I really do my best to not dislike an athlete or whatever. Like if I don't mess with their game or whatever, then I just don't mess with their game. But like Tony Parker was somebody that I was just like he irritates me, and it was because he's so good. Why was he not on that list?
That little drive into the lane and the floater was just unbelievable.
So the thing I want to go back though about MJ, his NASCAR. Everyone's talking about how how excited and how he was like a little sauced after the thing. Listen, he was a little sauced because his main car in NASCAR almost won the Daytona 500. It was literally like
inches,
maybe this close. I think he was about this close,
like 2 feet.
Yeah, maybe a little more than what I just had there, but. From winning the Daytona 500 in the sport that he owns 2 cars in, that was a really big deal.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
When he was hopping on the plane, he probably already popped the bottle of champagne because his ownership is only 1 year in technically.
Yeah, and
he's 1 year. Last year was the first year he did it. So the fact that you finished second in the Daytona 500 with your main car, the number 23 car. And then he was going to do the 75th celebration.
That's awesome.
I think that MJ celebrated, he was the Daytona thing.
He was daydreaming.
Yeah, I think he was very excited. And he did look like he had a good time at the Daytona thing. So we'll get into Daytona then.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. I saw there's some really big name owners who you wouldn't even think who have stake in NASCAR.
Oh gosh, absolutely. I wanted to tell you, I forgot to. 2 things. I know 2 guys that I want to tell you about. Money Mayweather.
Yep.
Emmett Smith owns a car in the series underneath NASCAR.
The Xfinity Series.
Yes,
that's
Xfinity
awesome.
Series. And he has a driver, Ika Jawa, who was a ex-Marine.
Awesome.
And as really great story in and of himself. And so,
see, man, these are things you can only get on the Hood and Oz pod.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. All right. So, also something you're only going to get on the Hood and Oz pod. Love this idea from Oz here. State of the franchise.
Yeah. The theory behind it is the NFL season's over, but like we still need to fill that void of the NFL, the knowledge. So I thought it would be a great idea to kind of break down week by week the state of a franchise, 2 franchises per week in the NFL. So kind of chopping it up in my head, thinking about how we want to break it down, what would get us through, what would bridge the next couple months for us. I kind of came up with a little cadence. We're going to look to follow it, but this is our own thing. So
right, since football,
whatever happens. Right,
since football is like, you know what I mean, what
our thing, absolutely.
This makes the most sense.
Yep.
And also, it is the thing that most people want. So
yeah.
It also makes the most sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all love the draft. We all live for the draft. As soon as the Super Bowl is over, it's like, all right, draft. Well, a little bit of free agency, sign those things, but the draft. So what I thought would be an awesome way to bridge the gap would be to start this state of the franchise segment. So each week we're going to take 2 teams. We're going to break them down. And you'll see we're going to give you some facts and some particulars about each franchise that kind of make up the state of where they're at. And then we are going to, in the end, we're going to give you some predictions, some free agent people who we think may go places. But the way that we're going to break it down is we're going to start with the draft order. So our first 2 today will be the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. So I hope we can build on this idea.
Yeah, I love it. I think that it is really great. Gonna, like you said, bridge the gap to where we want to get.
Sure.
Because we can always talk football. There's never a time, especially. I mean, I'm not just talking like the week after the Super Bowl where we're talking about Super Bowl. We can always just talk anything about football at any given point. Time. So I think this is a great idea to keep us engaged, and also. I think that for a little like behind the scenes view here, I'm a big fan of like people understanding how we do feel about these franchises, so they understand the context when we're just having a conversation about them in the future, about maybe where we do stand on it. So, start off.
Yeah, we can kick it off. So the first team, they have the number 1 draft pick in the 2022 draft is Jacksonville. Back-to-back years number 1. So
never want to hear that. As a franchise.
Yeah, you never want that as a franchise.
One.
But a quick recap of the Jaguars: they did go 3-14, so they had the worst record in the league, which awarded them the first overall pick again. This year was kind of crazy for them.
Yeah, kind of.
They had Trevor, the
disclaimer: I'm a big Trevor Lawrence fan. I think he can play.
The almighty Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
He had like 3 losses or something before he came to the NFL.
Yeah.
Something unheard of. So it was his rookie
high school
year.
and college combined.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was his rookie year. They brought in Urban.
Yep.
The QB whisperer. It was his first time treading those NFL waters. But they had agreements to build a whole new town in Duval. Like do the whole thing with the ownership there.
Yep.
The Cons. Those guys. If you dream it, don't make it happen.
That is very true.
So it kind of looked like they were really turning around. But then the first thing, it started early.
Thursday night.
Thursday
night was the football.
Yeah, that was the Chop House.
Oh, what were you going at?
I was going at when he hired that dude from
the strength and conditioning
the strength and conditioning coach. The second how do you hire someone the second you announce it, everyone hates you?
Well,
like literally, it was like, it wasn't even 30 minutes. Everyone was like, oh, well, I absolutely hate everyone.
Disclaimer, I think all college coaches, I'll disclude Marcus Freeman because I don't know about him yet, but all college coaches are scum, right? I feel that way just in general because
except for Coach JB,
because
he's the realest.
Because the way they got to get it, right? So Urban though, I felt like he was like the scum of the scum before he got there. So when this guy from Iowa gets in trouble, right, and then less than I think it was only a couple weeks removed.
Yeah,
Urban, like you said, hires
brings it to the NFL.
The players were like, nah.
Yeah, everyone was like, nah.
Well, his own locker room, like the first impression before they even have a full probably team meeting because he was just probably meeting individual positions by themselves at this point.
Yeah.
They haven't been together yet.
And it was all virtual.
They didn't like him already, like you said,
already?
from the moment, and it's just like that's Urban Meyer.
It's
like
crazy.
that's the best way to sum him up.
And then he decides to they go to Cincinnati, I believe it was, or no, Cleveland.
No, it was in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati on a Thursday night.
That was McPherson's first game-winning field goal.
Cool. Well, awesome fun fact that you can only get on the Hood and Oz pod. But yeah, so he decides to after a loss not get on the airplane with his team and say, "Okay, gentlemen, we're going to go back here together. We're going to tuck our tails. We're going to learn from this. We're going to start watching film right now on the plane." No, I want to see the grandbabies, he said. So he stays.
Here, this isn't a job that you can just, I'm going to see the grandbabies because I'm in town.
I'm not going to go home.
Right. This isn't a job. Like the NFL coaches, all of them will tell you this is not a job you can do that. Like the off week, the bye week, the
unbelievable
off days,
work demand.
Right. The off days are not off days for you. Like the off days are off days for the players.
Yeah.
Like the coaches don't feel like they're working like they feel like the players are working.
Yeah,
they feel like they're just sitting down and doing stuff.
Yeah.
So like they all genuinely don't take a day off. Urban literally took the Friday off. Saturday went to a football game.
Yep.
Partied all day. Can you imagine this? Day drink all day. This is the head coach of an NFL team. Day drink all day on Saturday. After you by the way, you haven't won a game yet this year.
Yeah.
And then you got caught doing what you did, which, hey, listen, I mean, not for me, but not good.
I mean, unbelievable, dude. Like,
you want to see the grandbabies and then,
Then you're on video at the Chop House.
Yeah.
Doing what you're doing. I mean,
Urban Meyer, man.
It was not a good look. So obviously,
and as somebody, listen, I am not somebody who likes to tout on people not doing well, but I would have absolutely, like, if we were doing the show when he got hired, I would have been saying, well, I can't wait to watch the disaster.
See what happens.
And then as it was happening, I would have just been like,
told you so.
Holding the "told you so" sign up the whole time. Like, this is great.
No,
this is great.
100%. He's a stooge.
Is it when
he completely put a bad stigma around them. It was just, it really wasn't fair to Trevor. It really wasn't fair to any of those guys who were, I mean, they just had a shitty season. Like, they literally just had a shitty season. Thought he was going to,
and the thing about
bring him back, and he didn't.
It was players and coaches that, like it was everybody together that was like,
well, he was, I mean, he was disrespecting guys.
Right,
Like, if that story about him going around, well, that's just insane. He kicked the kicker.
Wasn't it in preseason too?
And it was the Cowboy game, and like the kicker said he kicked him hard enough to feel it. I mean, regardless, the fact that you feel as though you can kick another grown man, it's like the Juwan Howard situation. He's lucky. Let's just say
it's not a laughing matter. But that makes me laugh. Like, he kicked the kicker. Like why?
Like my boy Pat said, you kicked the right kicker because you're lucky you ain't kicked the wrong motherfucker.
Yeah, you're right.
You're lucky you didn't get stolen the mouth.
You might not have been afraid of that kicker.
Yeah, completely. And then made the coaches tell him how much of a failure he is. That's just unbelievable. But through all of that, I think they got their first win in London.
Yep.
Which is awesome. So like that was kind of a joke how like they didn't win in America for a number of years. Yeah. They beat Buffalo in like mid-season. I think like 9-6 or something crazy like that. Yeah. So they had the makings.
That was Josh Allen's worst game.
And like that's kudos to that locker room. The fact that they were able to
put something together
and still come out on top. And then I think it was huge going into the offseason that they went out there and they just completely dominated the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes.
The Colts had the playoffs on the line. They had so much ride. They had so much expectations. They had 7 Pro Bowlers, the most Pro Bowlers.
Yep.
And they literally had no command in that game. They had no chance.
Jacksonville had them out of their game.
From start to finish.
Yep.
So from a state of the franchise point of view, that is, if you're going to end a shitty season, you might as well end it like that. So.
Especially if Trevor Lawrence, which by the way, his best game was that last game.
Yeah.
So like that's another part of like, okay, you have a way to uplift it. I thought Trevor Lawrence throughout the whole season, as you were saying, because I understood the context of coaching that he had around him, talent that he had blocking for him, X, Y, and Z, whatever. I felt like did a lot of good things that you could feel like you're going to build off of in the future. You got to get the right people around him, coaches, blocking, everything.
And that's why, moving on to the next point of, kind of the recap or heading into the next season, they're bringing in WP.
My guy.
a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
The guy's an Andy Reid guy, so he knows what a locker room looks like.
Yep.
He knows what a winning coaching staff looks like to put together.
Yep.
I think that's huge. I think it's kudos to the Collins and to that. I know not many people are fans of that GM, but if you're gonna have a guy who can deal with a challenging GM, bring in Doug EP.
Listen, Doug,
I mean, he did wonders with Howie. So.
Well, the other side of it is, I don't think Doug would have accepted a job because the whole reason he left the situation in Philly without knowing 100% that he's going to be able to, at minimum, I don't think he wants to do the draft.
Yeah.
He wants to have his hands on everything, though, like the day of roster construction.
Which he should,
right, he's the head coach. Like, I don't disagree. But I do, and also, like, a little bit in the draft. So I think what you're saying there, and everything that Doug, I thought, was involved in, where it wasn't, like, he was... A lot of that I felt like was really good talent evaluation and blah blah blah.
Oh, absolutely.
And he developed really well. Yeah, he developed a lot of good players.
He had coaches like Jim Schwartz. And
that was the other thing.
Like notable guys on that staff who are going to bring like a command to that locker room. To where Urban had no command from day one.
That's true.
Doug Marrone had command at one point in time, but he kind of lost it. So I just think. If you're going to bring a guy in who's going to put the right guys in place, it's going to be Doug EP.
Well, and Urban had a lot of his guys, which were college guys there, right?
Exactly.
Where Doug is bringing a bunch of guys who, like, I looked at their coaches. Most of his staff, especially offensively, but a bunch of defensive guys too, coached with them, like underneath Schwartz and Wright and
exactly,
and all Press Taylor. Taylor he has been there. He literally was the offensive. I think pass game coordinator or whatever for
exactly.
And then he moved the whole way up. I'm pretty sure he's a co-offense coordinator for the Jaguars. And he's been with Doug EP from the day one in Philadelphia. Like, there's a lot of guys like that on that staff.
I just hope they give Doug a chance to implement his culture and bring it up to speed with his team. It's not going to be a quick turnaround. I don't think people don't want to go there. You don't necessarily have like the most talent on hand right now, but hey, draft well.
The sentimental thing for me with him is like I think that he's getting that chance to. He never got the chance to do what he wanted to do with Carson. As much as there might have been friction between him and Carson, and whatever that might have been, or I don't know.
It's all speculation.
At the end of the day, what I do know is that he wishes he could have been able to work a little more with Carson and get them because. Carson doesn't sign that big deal without Doug saying, "Yeah, I want to work with him for the next 6 years," right?
Surely.
So I think I'm glad that he gets the chance with Trevor Lawrence. And what else you were saying about the rest of it? I like how much we'll break it down, but like what their future can hold.
Oh, sure, yeah. They're actually they have some talent across the board. To be honest, some free agents who they've picked up in recent years who you really won't even think about.
Yep.
They've hit on a couple late round draft picks, but just to tap into kind of more of a recap of how they pan out on offense and defense. They were the 27th overall ranked offense. They averaged 303 yards per game. That's nothing like stellar. Clearly, there's only 32 teams in the league,
and that's where Doug is gonna accelerate that.
It's gonna be a lot better, yeah. Trevor Lawrence threw for 3,600 yards, which is nothing to bat an eye at.
A decent amount of yards, especially for a rookie with the situation he was in.
100%. And they came into this season after a year where they discovered James Robinson. So he was obviously the bell cow back who they thought would help. As well as they drafted Etienne, who played with Trevor.
But
he got injured, unfortunately, so that kind of threw it in. He only had 12 touchdowns, though.
Well, I was just about to say, so I have and it's stupid because it's nitpicking. It's only 3 touchdowns off, but like I just think 15 would have been like my mark for him this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm not looking for him to get 20 or 30, but like 15, I think.
Considering what he went through,
but so like 12, when I see it on paper, it is a little low for what I would like, but yeah, considering what he went through, that's a lot of yards. For what he went through.
Yep. And like I said, they do have James Robinson as the running back. Solid kid. I believe he's a 7th round pick last year. Came out of the gates really, really strong. He definitely had over 1,000 yards, but he got injured this year.
Right.
And that's very unfortunate.
He was trending in a good direction.
Yeah, he did have 763 yards and 8 touchdowns.
8 touchdowns. That's a good amount.
Definitely a solid number. I mean, clearly they used him when they got into the red zone. So that's a good sign heading into next season. I thought that's why them having the number 1 overall pick and what they do with it is huge. So.
Yes.
And this was the name. No, she go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say with the number 1 overall pick, but keep going.
This was a name where I've known Marvin Jones' name for years.
Me too.
Him and Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I'm a fantasy. I've used him.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Did not know he was in Jacksonville last year.
Oh, I did because I used him. I'd like to do like the daily fantasy for Sundays, and so I use him a lot on the daily fantasy.
Awesome. Yeah, he had 832 yards, which isn't great, but at the same time, you got a rookie quarterback who's not been really protected. Your running back's down, and he also plays with DJ Chark is also there.
Yeah.
So that he gets some targets as well. So I was just.
And let's be honest, with how bad their offensive line is, it's impossible to develop routes the way you'd like to as a wide receiver in the first place.
Yeah.
So they're working shorthanded right there.
Absolutely, and I'm sure a lot of his were getting the ball out of Trevor's hands really quick.
Slants and stuff.
Exactly,
right
to them. Their defense did rank out a little bit better than in the late 20s. They were 18th overall. They did allow 457 points though, which was 5th most in the NFL. So 457 points, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But when you have a guy leading your defense and his name is Josh Allen with 7 sacks, you don't
How many sacks did he have on Josh Allen? He had 1 or 2, right?
1 or 2, and I think he had a pick 6 on him.
That's right. He had the pick 6.
He had a pick 6. Josh Allen pick 6. Josh Allen. Which is crazy.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Miles Jack's still there. He led the team with 108 tackles.
Yeah.
He's a solid guy.
So I was gonna say a lot of their defense is like a continuity. As much as they lost a lot of guys, they've been together. So.
And it's kind of shows you how just crazy and how much of a business the NFL is when you think about the defense they just had a couple years ago with Calais Campbell and Jalen and AJ Boye.
If they could have figured out how to keep that defense, you know what I mean?
And I mean, that's just they were stacked.
That's something to build off of, no matter what your offense looks like. But they did feel like unless they had a quarterback, they had nothing, and they did not have a quarterback.
No, they didn't. And then Tyson Campbell was their leading. Led them in takeaways with 2 interceptions. So. I wasn't really familiar with his name, but hey,
not me either. But
you got to get it how you live.
What I was gonna say though, the next 2 things that we have highlighted, their draft picks, the amount of draft picks that they have.
Yeah, they have a surplus.
That is something you can beyond build off of, whether they want to trade it between now and the draft, or draft day trades, or just draft that many guys, 12.
They have 12 draft picks. Yeah, that's some really good draft capital. You could certainly shape. Looks like they have like 5 or 6. No, they have looks like 8 or 9 in the first 6 rounds. So with 4 in the 6th round, you can surely bottle them up and move some things around. So they can get better. They have to let Dougie P.
I was even gonna say just having 4 in the first 3 rounds alone. I mean those 4 guys can. If you hit on 2 of them, that's a good number.
Absolutely. I mean, you get the Trayvon Diggs of the world in the 2nd round.
And so the next thing that I was going to highlight as well is the amount of cap space they have. I mean,
they're loaded.
Yeah, that is where they can actually build. If you want to start protecting Trevor Lawrence or even adding to the defense, which wasn't too terrible, or getting a weapon. I mean, they do have a ton of cap. So
they have almost $60 million.
Right.
So
that's a ton in the NFL.
That's a ton. And if you think about it, this kind of plays into like our predictions of what they think they're going to do in the draft. But we'll also touch on that. But if you think about it, you have $60 million in cap. You could spend significant money on, say, a pass rusher, and get an offensive tackle as the first pick, and save money. There's a million different ways in games that you could play.
Especially with Trevor, you have $60 million in cap, and Trevor's on a rookie deal.
Yep.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
You brought in Dougie Pugh, who went at that time. Yep. So that's also kind of part of it, I think.
They only have 2 guys that make over $10 million on their cap. So
when you're talking NFL, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So
it makes sense that they lost. They're the number 1 team 2 years in a row.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
they are losing some notable guys.
Yeah,
and that's where it kind of plays into that first pick with them losing their left tackle.
Yeah.
Or potentially, I'm sorry. They're potentially losing their left tackle.
Yeah.
Cam Robinson, obviously, he hasn't been a standout protector of Trevor, or we wouldn't necessarily be having this conversation.
That's very true.
So I thought that was interesting.
But he was their most highlighted guy by far. So
I think he was number 2 overall draft pick when he came out from Auburn.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Back in the day.
But it is more than one guy in the offensive line sometimes. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. But it starts with that pillar.
Money to sign him though, so I mean I'm with you. They had the money, they knew they had the money, and they didn't make it done yet.
Exactly.
There is something to that.
If Trevor can know his blind side's protected at all times, he'll be a lot better off. So the other guys they're losing are Damian Wilson. He's kind of an interchangeable scheme guy, former Cowboy, former Chief.
Yeah.
He did win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs.
Yep.
So him and Anthony Hitchens, 2 former Cowboys, going to win a Super Bowl, of course. Tavon Austin, which is a name who's been lingering around for years.
We love him. So
he's a free agent.
I skill guy.
Yeah, he only signs 1-year deals. It feels like he hops around on 1-year deals.
Oh yeah, he hops around with
recently, and then DJ Chark, which is somebody who I would imagine that they try to retain if they're going to retain anyone.
Especially because he did have good chemistry with Trevor, and that that is a big deal.
I mean, he had
quarterback.
He had really good chemistry with Garner and.
I agree.
Trevor,
I agree with that. But him and Marvin Jones also bringing him back, you could still bring somebody in that's just as good, if not better than them. Like they're not impeding anything like that by bringing him back.
You guys want Amari?
Well, they have a lot of draft picks, so
exactly.
Possibly.
Exactly.
Well, your predictions for next year.
Yeah. You can go ahead and go first.
I think they're going to go... now, again, this is a rough estimate because, I'll be honest, I thought about this earlier. If you take my records of everybody and match them up to who they play next year, I might not be super accurate, right? So this is just... But I do...
This is the week after the Super Bowl.
Well, you're right. 5-12 is what I'm looking at. And only because as much as I like a lot that's going on with their franchise, and I do like a lot that's going on with their franchise, got to see, like you said, where we got to the Super Bowl. Got to see what they do with that $60 million. Got to see what they do with the draft. Right. There's so much that this 5 could go to 8 to and I'm not saying Browns territory where everyone was all in on them over the last couple of years, but possibly
it could,
if they spend the $60 million properly and draft properly, within 2 years they could be in that
100%.
Browns territory where at least you're talking about them in conversation.
I agree. I have the same 5-12. I definitely think they're gonna be better suited just because they're not gonna deal with the bullshit that they have to. But I still think they're gonna have a lot of kinks, a lot of things to figure out. I think a big thing of what they do from like you said with that cap, there's Orlando Brown Jr. He's a free agent. Dalton Schultz is a free agent. There are some guys that are free agents that are out there that could fill some voids, give Trevor some protection, give Trevor some weapons. Then that could free you up to draft defense. I mean,
but the thing about it is,
interested to see how they
with that much draft and that much actual capital, you can play around with a team like the Packers they're kind of not desperate for one or the other, but the Packers need to dump some money.
They do.
And so you have the money and exactly that's a great example. If you have the money and the draft capital to do it and just take people on for that. There's a good chance you get somebody.
There's Darius Smiths of the world.
Right, exactly. I'm not saying top.
Marcus Williams, I think the safety from New Orleans is a free agent as well. So.
Exactly. Yeah, right. So if you do things properly, there is they really can flourish with the situation they're in.
You have a coach that's done it.
Absolutely. So. I got them taking in Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan.
Makes sense. It's the flashy pick.
Listen, and I'm a Notre Dame guy, so clearly, it's not like I'm, this guy's, off the charts, blah, blah, blah. I was never, super before. But I will say I do, and I think we're just super early, so things might change between here and the draft process. But I do feel like he's going to be that star that, when we're getting said and done, when we're walking up to the draft, he's going to be the one that I think everyone is talking about.
And, defensive player of the year this year was somebody who scored had 22.5 sacks. So that's the pass rush, that whole stigma, that whole game breaker, game changer thing is the future of defense.
And now I say that banking on, well, you can say your pick first.
Well, yeah, I have them slated to take Evan Neal out of Alabama, that left tackle. You get potentially, obviously he could be a bust, but I just think you get that pillar, that next generation guy, 6'7", 350. I mean, he's going to protect Trevor, or at least he's going to give you a chance to protect Trevor.
Listen, I don't like to broad brush things in sports, but when it comes to Alabama and offensive linemen, I'll broad brush it. The one thing that he's been doing for the last 4 years is preparing to protect somebody like Trevor Lawrence.
He played 3 different positions over the past 3 years. Yeah, just because they've had a better guy at left tackle. They had Leatherwood. So he's played. I believe he played left guard, right guard. I'm sorry, right tackle, left guard, and left tackle. Because he played next to Leatherwood last year. Okay. So he's done.
He played next to Dickerson and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's crazy. That's insane.
And that's exactly it. But so again, Alabama offensive linemen, I'm not ever going to be worried about them, especially his size, how well he did, and the versatility that he had. Yeah, that's they prepare their players to be able to do that.
Oh, and 100%. He was a plug-in guy at Bama. I just think that he gives you that solid protection for the next at least 5 years, barring they stays healthy. At least 5 years. And then you're going to have to probably make him the highest paid left tackle in football.
Well, yeah, if he pans out. Listen, I always say on draft day, that's the worst case scenario. Then you deal with that problem when you get to that problem. Yep. That's what I say about Hutchinson being drafted. I go in the sense of then they got to use some of that money
to protect
Trevor if they're going to take a defensive player.
And I would say the flip side, they need to use some of that money to bring in a Vaughn.
Completely agree.
There's some guys out there that could fill that void, and you wouldn't have to pay them, upwards of $15 million a year to do it. So I just think you keep Trevor upright, you have the best chance of winning.
I think you're not wrong, because I do think if you're going to play with the cap like that, your best option is to draft offensive line in that situation. Now I will say disclaimer: I draft talent, not position. And that's how
best available.
Right, that's how I would always run it. So that's where that's why he won out on that.
Sure.
One. Number 2 pick in the draft, Detroit. You're on the clock.
On to a more interesting team. I feel like now that they've always been kind of interesting because of just how terrible
who they are.
But they hired MCDC, so Motor City Dan Campbell is a different breed.
And the Bengals just got out of this territory. Excuse me. The Bengals just got out of this territory. But the Jets, Detroit, you throw the Jags in there, the Browns, the ultimate always suffering.
Yep.
I'm with you on the always being interested. Dan Campbell interests me. He always intrigues me when he talks and stuff. Yeah. But I always have wondered how much will it be bought into. It seems very bought into, by the way.
I agree. They struggled out of the gates. They did finish 3-13-1, so they beat out the Jags by that tie in Pittsburgh. My poor aunt was there, and she's from Florida, so it was one of the first cold days. It was pouring down raining. It was unbelievable, and she had to sit through a tie.
My cousin's brother-in-law, who he likes football, but he really doesn't care about football other than the Steelers, was also at that game. First game we went to in 4 or 5 years, and
but to bounce back to the buy-in, you could see it. Those players loved him.
I agree.
They were bought in from the first press conference. How could you not be? He's an ex-player. He's a motivator. He's a master motivator. I would say. So
I agree.
I would think they're one of the more younger teams. So they kind of gravitated towards that, which was really, really cool to see it, and it grew throughout the season.
So I don't mean to say that it doesn't happen in these other sports, but in baseball or basketball is the best example I have for you. You can have teams that show up to work and don't like each other at all. We've heard stories from both of those
absolutely.
Of championship teams in multiple instances, for both those sports. Football, I do feel like you need, especially if you're going to hire a Campbell type guy, you need them to buy in the players to buy in 8,000%, or else you're never going to be able to, they can't come in rolling their eyes at the coach or even disliking each other, honestly, the way you can in other sports. So you have to, what did he say? Eat the ankles off or whatever.
Eat the kneecap.
Right.
All on kneecaps.
Yeah.
He wanted a real lion at practice.
And that could have went either way with the players, but I think by the end of the season it turned into, well, that's a genuine that's just.
He cried after a game.
Yeah,
he was invested.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so,
and also that was a cool human moment because of everything that happened in their state. That within a couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
So,
and you could just tell my man gives a shit.
He cared, yes, about the community. But that's the other thing I wanted to say about the people being bought in. The players, when they talk about him, it feels like they feel he cares.
Yep.
So
he inherited Jared Goff. Well, yeah, I mean, the Lions, got Jared Goff and MCDC in the same year last year. So that's a tough transition. Jared Goff's not coming there with the most confidence or the most, the best mental situation, I would think. He kind of got forced out of the place that he went to the Super Bowl. LA, I'm sure he loved playing. He played for Cal.
Oh, today, right now, I don't know how Jared Goff would be feeling. But the thing for me is when he got traded over there, okay, it had to feel a little whatever. But at the same time, they intentionally sat him in that playoff game. And then in the middle of the playoff game, asked him to come into the game, even though they told him that he was hurt. Right. And he played well.
Yeah.
And so, I think, he probably was ready. He saw the writing on the wall.
Oh, absolutely.
Which made him ready for the fresh start.
But I still know if Detroit was the best place for a fresh start.
It's not the best place for anybody, especially going into the situation of whether Campbell's good or not. First-year head coaches never get the success that you're going to eventually potentially get. I've always been back and forth on Goff. I always liked him because of I like McVay. So I've always just been
I like McVay. I've never thought that Goff was anything. I thought he was definitely a below average quarterback.
Well,
he never did it for me. Him and Carson came out the same year, right?
Yep. He was number one. Carson was number two.
I was a big Carson fan over him just because of Carson reminded me of a football player. Jared Goff does not remind me of a football player.
Okay, I'll give you that. The thing with me with Jared Goff and the rest of the talent or the rest of the makeup of him is not a football player.
Yeah.
But the thing that always impressed me about him is he can make that throw. It doesn't happen enough. He doesn't read the defense well enough. I don't feel like there's all these other.
He
things
can make every single NFL throw.
But and that was always to me and that's why it works so well with Sean McVay because. There was never a situation like Garoppolo in the Super Bowl where he was asked to make the throw, a certain throw, and he didn't have it.
I agree.
He was always going to put that ball there, but he needs everything put in place for him. Clearly, I mean, there's no question at this point about that.
That's all right.
That is. I don't mind that from a quarterback.
But But the situation has to be like a San Francisco around Jimmy G. It's built for him to. I don't know what's going to happen with him, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what you said. Perfect.
Jared Goff, if he would have went to a franchise that was in a better state,
that's the point of
this. He would have.
Love it.
That's why he went to the Super Bowl with McVay, because McVay,
and that's why he won 3 games with Detroit because it wasn't put in place.
100%.
So, and if we do this long enough, which is our goal to do this long enough, you're going to get tired of hearing this exact words. But what I will always relate a guy like Jared Goff to is Joe Flacco. I was having arguments when I lived in Ocean City, Maryland, with the locals there because I'm an Eagles fan and they're all Ravens fans about Joe Flacco. This was before he won the Super Bowl. I was having arguments with them I will take a Joe Flacco because after the Vic and McNabb era, the Eagles were juggling quarterbacks that I could name right now, but none of you care about nor would know, so it doesn't matter. I was sitting there you guys are crazy for not liking your quarterback, and then he went on and won a Super Bowl. So
Joe Flacco has a huge arm.
But I look at Jared Goff very similar to that.
I agree.
He needs things in place. Joe Flacco needed everything in place. He's not going to run the offense for you.
Great defense, yeah.
He needs a good defense, right?
And Bolden.
You're going to need somebody to make the play. But you ask him to make the throw, he'll make the throw every time. And if you ask him just to put the ball up and see if it's receivable, he'll do that too. So that's kind of where I'm at with Jared Goff. And like you said, I don't hate that kind of player.
Now, to highlight Goff on the other end, I thought he got better each week. He fought some injuries, but him and Amon-Ra St. Brown, they really began to grow a great chemistry. He threw that game-winning pass to him. I think that was their first win. That was huge. I mean, so he's definitely built some trust.
He also had a game-winning pass drop like week 2 of the season.
He did, and I think they were like great again. There's always like a joke that I think they had a winning record against the spread.
Oh, they did. They did. Yeah.
So in the betting world, they were winners.
Well, that's a big deal, right? Yeah. But that also what shows about the effort and stuff like that is that whether you betting part of it aside,
they were
the fact that they were always close games.
They lost a lot of close games.
I mean, they lost a game off the longest kick in the history of the NFL. Like that, that sums it up.
Unbelievable.
It's not like most years where they're just bad. Like they might have been bad, but they really did. They were there.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving kind of was a slow day.
That's always the worst.
That's in comparison. It is so bad. And you know what's been bad lately? And like I don't complain about the things in sports because I like the setup of the Lions and then the Cowboys and then a random night game. I do like that setup even as an Eagles fan. But like the Lions games are getting stale lately. Like it has been getting stale.
Cowboys lost 3 straight. So.
Well, I mean that's not getting stale. But like but that is. The Cowboys game was riveting, and I know that's hard for a Cowboys fan because it was probably sickening for you. But even take myself out as an Eagles fan, like football fans across the whole nation.
Glad you guys had fun.
That was just riveting television.
I went and threw up my dinner.
It was the best. It's the best reality TV you're gonna find in the NFL.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys are the best reality in the NFL
TV show there is. Joke.
So. You talk about St. Brown. I do love. He was a rookie last year. Late round. Well, not late, but 4th round pick.
Yeah, he got drafted late.
And Sewell. And
Penei Sewell. They actually invested. Literally, like we're saying about Jacksonville. Yeah. They went ahead and did that. They made that unpopular pick.
Yeah.
The pick that the Cowboys made when they drafted Zach Martin, when they drafted Travis Frederick, the one I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what in the hell would we draft this guy for? And then next thing you know, DeMarco Murray has 2,000 yards in the league, and you're like, that's why. Okay. So that's kind of, they're invested in their offense. Yeah. They're invested in protecting Goff. Yep. They hit on a 4th round pick with St. Brown. So
they hit on a 3rd round pick too with Alan McNeil. He was a good run stopper for them. Now he didn't play a ton, but he plugged up holes for them when he was playing. And so I do look at good core.
So that just indicates
if you hit on 3 guys,
they're drafting well.
Right, if you hit on 3 guys early like that,
and a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder, that just goes to show that you are
right.
That you're building from inside out.
That's the building blocks that you need for success.
Exactly.
That is actually what got the Browns to where they are. How good they actually. It took forever. It took 20 years of having the top 5 pick, but. When they got the right guy in there,
certainly, you start building, and you got these 3rd and these 4th rounders who are coming to play, and they're each game they get better. I mean, that's just, and then then that's where the window gets created of we gotta at least get to the conference championship. We gotta get to the Super Bowl while these guys are on rookie deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's huge.
I know Goff's deal is big, but clearly, once that contract expires, if he feels like the situation's right for him and they feel like the situation's right for them,
they can get him for cheaper.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be committed for more than a year or 2 because he knows where he stands and they know where they stand, and so it puts you in that cycle of looking for quarterback maybe, but at the same time he is. Let's drag that along for another year or 2. When you get to that point in the contract, I think they still have a year or 2 left on that. So
we had mentioned before they tied with Pittsburgh. Yeah. So that was interesting. They did get a huge win and an absolutely convincing, dominating win over Arizona. They beat them. They beat the brakes off of the Cardinals from beginning to end. I believe that was either right before or right after the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. So I was just like. My mind was just warped. I either thought we were going to blow them away, or I was like, "How the hell does this happen?"
Right? Yeah.
And then they wrapped it up, and it was a garbage, end of the year game. Aaron only played maybe a quarter, but they did end the season on a win against Green Bay.
Yeah, which is something for them.
Definitely. MCDC could come in next year and say, "Hey, they went and lost in the 1st round because we pissed on their moral."
Yeah. No, it's very true.
We pissed in their Cheerios.
Yeah. And that's a division rival. It was Aaron.
Or we laid the blueprint.
Right, yeah. You got to show teams how to do it. Yeah. A psychological advantage.
Yeah,
I like that.
and that's definitely a Dan Campbell move.
And since they're bought in, I think that it would work.
So I think heading into next season, they got some steam. And they're a gritty town, and he's gonna big up the grittiness.
Oh my gosh!
And he's gonna make them think like everyone hates you, no one likes you
because you're from Detroit. I think what he'll use as well is like the Detroit Rams shirts and stuff. Like that we're going around. Like,
oh my gosh!
Look, they're just disrespecting you in your own
city. And they have a loyal
fan
fan base, and I'm sure
like their fan base is like.
I'm sure if you win in Detroit, they're gonna love you a lot more than they love Matthew Stafford.
Look at the Pistons. I mean,
exactly.
I think that's a good example. So, or even the Red Wings, honestly, that's a better example.
Yeah. They didn't rank out the best on offense. They were 22nd overall. They averaged 322 yards per game overall. So that's not great by any means. But, first year offense, I'm sure with Dan Campbell. First year with Jared Goff, like we touched on, they had some new weapons, some unfamiliar guys. So, hey.
My guy Deuce
22 is better than 23. So.
My guy Deuce Staley was over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Running things on the offense too. So
and that leads. I'll lead off with DeAndre Swift. He was injured a lot, but he's a really good back, and he illustrates a lot of previous Deuce Staley backs. So
that's very true.
I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, I do like.
He's a little bit of like a bigger, stronger, faster Westbrook. I feel like.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So,
but even to the Deuce Staley backs, he's a much more talented like Clement or. He's like a breed between Clement or like a Jay Ajayi or LeGarrette Blount. Like he can do the bruising, but he also can do what Clement did out of the backfield. He catch the ball. That's what I mean. Like Clement did that out of the backfield. Crazy, but
he was really good. Yeah,
he can run people over too when he needs to.
Yeah, he's a force. He was great. He's been great since high school. He played at played in Philly, and then he went to Georgia. Showed out Georgia, but he was behind Nick Chubb and those guys. So, I mean, just think about that running back room.
That's true.
Jared Goff, he passed for 3,245 yards, 19 touchdowns. So while he didn't have as many passing yards as Trevor, he had 19 touchdowns. So that I think that's experience.
I was gonna say that to me, and I'd have to look it up. This is no stats. This is just me speculating. I'd have to feel like that's a lot of red zone differences right there. Like Trevor's still learning how when the box gets too small like that, how to navigate it. Where Goff is, I mean, he was helped by Sean Payton, I'm sorry, Sean McVay. So clearly, you know what I mean. Like you said, like experience.
Yeah, and I would say the highlight of their team this year was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah,
he wasn't Notre Dame.
No, he went to USC.
His brother
went to Notre Dame.
Okay, cool. That's actually an awesome story. But surprise, 912 receiving yards, 5 tuds. That's huge. I mean, my man almost had 1,000 yards.
Which that's what I was gonna say. That's the most impressive part to me.
That's something to build on.
That means he was utilized so much. And he became a staple of what they were, an anchor of their offense.
They would have had to pay Marvin Jones a free agent second deal,
and he stepped right in.
Exactly. So that's kudos to the front office. Kudos to the scouting department.
Almost made it through. Mentioned him twice without saying USC, so that always sucks. Now defense.
Yeah, defense. They ranked 29th overall, so they were not good. They were second in most points allowed, only to the Jets. They gave up 467 points. The Jets gave up 504. So nothing to write home about there. They did have a leading pass rusher, Charles Harris, with 7.5 sacks, which is it's all right. But clearly their defense struggled. So they definitely weren't giving the offense the best opportunity. I'm sure that played into field advantage and just a bunch of things that didn't help the offense, especially that they played. That's why I love football so much, because you begin to peel back the layers and you think, okay, well, the defense was 29th overall. They gave up all these points. The offense was 22nd, which isn't great, but they were so close in every game.
Right.
What would have happened if the defense would have played a little bit better?
Well, and so that was going to be my next question, and I don't know it. I don't think well enough to give my own answer on it. Defense is his thing. So
No, he was a tight end.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah, that's right. But what did he coach? Didn't he coach linebackers in Miami?
I thought he was always a tight end coach.
Maybe, I don't know. Okay, all right.
Could be wrong. But
no, you're right. But okay.
He played tight end in Dallas. That's the only reason I know that.
Okay,
Him and Jason Witten.
Well, I knew he played in Dallas, but I know he coached in Miami for a while.
On Miami, the Saints. He was on Sean Payton's staff.
Yes. But, okay, so that does make sense.
Yeah, so, hey, look what the Cowboys did with 1 year with bringing in just
that's very true.
A good defensive
the right person, yeah. Or the Eagles, like you said with Schwartz earlier, like what they were doing with that.
Yeah, exactly. They had their leading tackler had 105 tackles, and they did have a guy with 6 interceptions. I'm not even going to
I hear you that.
pronounce his name. I was practicing last night in bed, but it wasn't that fluent yet. So
$5 fine from the Levitard show on that one too.
I don't feel comfortable.
The draft picks are what I think also, future of building from them. I mean, having 5 in the first 3 rounds.
3 rounds. That's huge.
Just,
so much value there.
You could build off of that.
Especially with what we just talked about. They've been drafting well.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
That's big. That's huge. They got 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. I don't know. That could be a quick flip of a franchise.
I completely agree. That's a great way and a great base, and how close they were in every game. Only a couple rookies and doing the right thing with in free agency really could actually bridge that gap that we're talking about.
Yeah, and they are plus in their total team salary cap with over $21 million. So,
right.
So they're not in debt. Their biggest contract is absolutely Jared Goff.
That was 31 part of that.
$31 million.
That trade is that they would take the rest of that contract.
Yeah, that's huge, but they don't have many other big contracts outside of that. They have a couple more than the Jaguars do, I would say, but Trey Flowers, is their second biggest cap hit at $23 million. So those 2 guys, and then it kind of falls off a cliff. So I just think that's important there if they use that wisely. Now, obviously, they need to save some for the draft. They're not losing any big free agents that they need to necessarily pay.
Right.
So I think
which also could mean
set up for some
good news for them, because usually in those situations, this is me not doing enough research. I don't know their GM well enough, but at least, and me and Howie have a love-hate relationship, but Howie in a situation like that does a really good job of, with nobody coming up, reworking deals so that everyone kind of gets some money around, and there is a way to you know what I mean,
all that
opens it more.
Yeah, and that's the new thing in the league is
the cap geniuses.
The cap geniuses, the cap gymnastics,
yes.
where either you kick the can down the road and you keep that money flowing, or you build in restructures. And Dak signs $40 million last year, but he's already restructured.
No, you're absolutely right. And there's a whole department dedicated to figuring out how to, nobody's coming up this year. How do we rework that Jared Goff number then? That kind of stuff.
And you always have this sell of, hey, you got to keep some money. You can't take up the whole pie, as Jerry Jones would say. With 2 people, everyone's got to eat off the same pie.
Yeah, so, that's very true. Yes.
They're like I said before, they're not losing anyone really to write home about a backup quarterback and a linebacker.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
Other than that, I just don't foresee them really being pressed to retain them guys. So they can use that $21 million on a number of people.
I agree.
Where do you want to start offense or defense? So that's kind of where I was thinking there. I think they're set up in a good spot.
I think so as well. Like you said, with you got to do the right things with the money, but they have the opportunity, like we said, with the draft picks and everything. What you said about the defense, I was actually thinking Juju or somebody on offense to add to the wide receiving core and whatnot. The base of going forward, though, is just going to be growing and developing what you're going to do with the quarterback position anyway. So, maybe saving the money and not going out for somebody big is
either. A Juju would be certainly a staple guy.
Yeah.
Certainly help the wide receiver room. A Dalton Schultz would be a huge.
Oh my gosh! That would be
yardage tight end.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would give Jared Goff a safety valve.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
There's definitely some ways on offense you could go, but like we said, they've been drafting well. So I personally would go through the draft, have my $21 million, and then decide what we're gonna do. Yeah, you'd probably miss out on some free agents, but you don't necessarily need big name free agents.
So I agree with that, and also since the Jared Goff situation isn't going to be resolved next year or the year after anyway, you have time to figure out yourself out around the quarterback position, and either if Jared Goff's going to be the guy, or what you're going to do to make sure you get the guy around the right team.
I agree 100%.
Predictions for next year?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, listen, I don't have them at a lot of wins because I don't know like where the talent is. Like as close as they were to everything last year, the schemes and all that kind of stuff I do find to be important in the NFL. And there was a lot.
They're gonna change it.
Right. So can they make the leap and can they make the gap? Absolutely. The drafting is, I think, going to be the biggest thing that could change my number on them winning this year, because 5 draft picks in the first 3 rounds is that is franchise altering.
Sure.
And I mean, it could do something for them down the road.
I went a little bit out on the limb. I believe in Motor City Dan Campbell. I believe that there's no real that it's not a fraud that they were in all those games. It's not a fraud that they're finding these late round steals. So I have them at 8 and 9. I just think they're going to come out with an edge. They're going to be a year older together. Goff has a year in the building with the coaching staff. I really don't think it's far-fetched to think that they go 8 and 9 or even crest that 6-7 win mark.
So I don't disagree that it's realistic for them. And I also wanted to put the disclaimer that I have them at the 4 wins is because I actually think that the team in their division to make a leap or a move would be the Bears, because I do think that Justin Fields can, with the right stuff around him, get them there. So that's when I start to weigh things like Aaron Rodgers. If he goes back to Green Bay, that becomes So when I started weighing things up and down, that was also part of it. But I think what you're saying is absolutely correct, and they have a very good potential and opportunity moving forward. I think anybody, if you're drafting in this position and you're plus salary, just off the bat, you're in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, I got them drafting George. Was it Carl Fitz? He's from Purdue. Here's the thing that always stood out to me about him. Okay, one, he played almost 50 snaps in every game except one this year. I think he played 49 snaps in every game except one this year. And then the other thing is, he doesn't necessarily get sacks, but I've always told you before, sacks aren't really my barometer. But I do like quarterback hurries, and he had 25 quarterback hurries in 2019, and he had 39 last year. He was off the charts. It was every time the other team went drop back to pass last season.
He's a motor guy.
Yeah, he was pushing offensive linemen around. I do feel this might be a little high for him, because not that he's bad on the run or anything like that, but he is an edge rusher. There's no question.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but that's where the NFL is kind of the direction of it.
That's the TJ Watts of the world,
right? So
yeah, no, and the way I kind of gauge that is he played against he played at Purdue, so he played against those Ohio State linemen are always great, but Rashawn Slater, for not this year, but he was number 1 rated tackle in the draft last year. Yeah. So I mean, he's definitely seen the NFL talent. Yeah. So
I mean, I was just gonna say Northwestern, Purdue, Penn State have all produced some pretty
great
offensive linemen over the last couple of years, and he did go up against.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Iowa. I mean,
I went with Aiden Hutchinson. I think. I think that he seems like a Michigan. That
is a good story.
That whole thing is certainly possible, but I think Dan Campbell and the Lions are going to kind of take the notion of, hey, let's draft Aiden, let's get that generational pass rusher, and then let's spend some of this money and these draft picks and just build that offense out, and then kind of just take that notion. Aiden Hutchinson had 18 and a half career sacks, and he only played, I think, a few games last year.
Yeah.
He got hurt in 2020,
so
he had 4 sacks in 2019 and then 14 last year, or this past season. He was a menace. Yeah. He was always off the edge.
I was going to say this past season he was just solid. Incredible.
And, that Michigan defense, they have some really, really good high round draft picks on that defense. And for him to be getting that first and second overall love just goes to show. He definitely had a great season. So, and he's built for it. He's huge. He's that body. He's that prototypical, new age pass rushers.
So I was actually going to say that too, like his size and what he does, like you know, physically, to the offensive lineman and whatnot. He is exactly what teams are looking for today, and I do think that's, like I said before about him. That's why I think he'll turn into the guy this draft.
Oh, I agree.
I really enjoyed the state of the franchises.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. I know, like, the big thing is, like I said, the NFL draft. How we can build it up to the NFL draft. We would love to see your predictions on the first two franchises. So if you want to hit us with hashtag the Hood and Oz Pod 2022 NFL, just give us your predictions. Give us your the record predictions and who you think they'll draft. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a little wager or something on that. Stay tuned for that part.
But I love it. I absolutely love it. That's fantastic. The other thing I was gonna say is I wanted to add to that. I hope people also, you know, it helps them understand where we are with these franchises because you know,
kind of paint that picture.
Right.
Because the draft is all we're gonna hear about. So why not know a little bit about each team?
Very true.
And so next week we have
Houston,
and I believe the Giants.
You know what? I think you're right.
So that'll be fun going over a defensive rival. But I'm excited for next week, and then I'm super excited to build on it. And as the situations for each franchise change, it will kind of have to change our conversation. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely. Moving on from football to some current events.
Yeah, just kind of figure we could highlight the week that we're currently in and the sports that we do have, and what we do have going on.
I absolutely love it.
We have college basketball, we have some NBA starting up here and Thursday night.
Yeah.
And then we have obviously it's golf season, it's racing season. There's always a good UFC fight.
Absolutely.
So we figure we kind of just go over the week that's going to be, kind of highlight it with the current top 10 in the NCAA college basketball. Like I said last week, it's kind of weird seeing some of these names, but then again, there's also those blue bloods there.
Yeah, there is. Gonzaga being number one. I mean, I guess no shock over the last 3 or 4 weeks the way basketball, you know, college basketball has gone. They've been pretty solidly, consistently up there.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're like you said, consistent.
Yeah. Arizona, I mean, listen.
They're always scrappy.
Yeah. So, like, they went through those NCAA sanctions and all that and blah, blah, blah. But they made it out on the other side in the last couple of years. They really have consistently still been good.
Yeah. For the last couple of years, like you said,
it's always funny to me, like, that whole situation happened over DeAndre Ayton, and, like, he's still young in the league to me. Like,
yeah, he's
you know
really
what I mean? Like,
young.
And they're already number 2 in the nation again. Like, that just shows, you know, they're doing something right. How about SEC Auburn having
they did take a tough loss this week.
Yes, you're right, and that'll probably drop them a little bit.
But it's still surprising to see them at number 3.
Yeah.
Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Loving it. Yeah, we did talk about that last week. Purdue, I mean, you know, 24 wins in the Big Ten, which I don't know if they were supposed to be a top team in the Big Ten, but I definitely think that it was more.
I'm pretty sure they were preseason ranked pretty high, but
okay.
I'm sure they're happy with their season.
Either way, 24 wins at this point in the Big Ten is pretty good. Kansas at 5, Kentucky at 6. I mean, you talk about 2 blue bloods. That does surprise me because they played head to head and Kentucky destroyed them. So like
that game or those games always are so much fun. They always go back and forth.
Absolutely.
So to see them at 5 and 6 is definitely gets me excited for the NCAA tournament.
And sticking with the blue bloods. I mean, Duke and Nova at 7 and 8.
7 and 8, yeah, right there. That little pack is.
Coach K maybe going out on the right foot, hopefully. I like that they stayed in the top 10 all year. You know, not that I was worried that it would but there was points of the season you didn't know. So, like, I do like, I'm a Coach K fan, and I like the fact that they've been, you know, sticking it there for the end. Nova up there, you know, I'm a Philly guy, but don't root for them or anything. But listen, they're good for the city.
Yeah, they are. They're good for the city.
Yeah, Texas Tech and Baylor, they've had a fun game this year already.
I think they play again.
Yeah,
well, they're gonna play again, and then they probably play again
that's true.
in the Big 12 tournament as well. So yeah, no, they're.
But we're only coming down to, as we stated earlier in the show with Michigan, 5 or so games for most of these teams left. So
he got suspended the rest of the season. It was 5 games.
Yeah.
So with obviously with that build up, with us getting to the end of the season, the games mean more. The games are bigger, and the networks always seem to really highlight that well. So we figured we would give you just an outlook on some games that are coming up on Wednesday and some top 25 matchups. We have number 7 Duke at University of Virginia. That's 7 p.m. on ESPN. Duke needs that one, certainly heading into the tournament.
Yeah.
But Virginia already beat Duke at home this year, and Virginia.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Virginia is always a tough out, and they're playing really good ball. Then, as well as 7 o'clock, we have Xavier at number 11 Providence. That'll be a back and forth game on FS1. You know that. That'll be fun. Providence is really good. They're a really physical basketball team. They've been good for the past couple years. The Providence Flyers, I believe.
Flyers.
Yeah, so they're scrappy. So it's
Dayton Flyers, Providence. I think you're right.
Friars. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see them finally reaping the benefits, being at number 11.
Yeah.
Then you got TCU traveling to number 20 Texas. Texas is hit or miss a little bit this year, but they are on the come up. You can tell things are changing.
They just played Baylor tough the other night.
Yeah, exactly. So they're there. They're number 20. So they're certainly creeping up there at the right time. Then you got number 14 Houston traveling to Tulane. That should be a good brush-up game for the Cougars. They've been really good the past couple years as well.
Consistently in basketball around that 14 range.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And then Ole Miss travels to number 3 Auburn. Like we said, Auburn's rank will probably drop a little bit, but the SEC is tough. So hopefully, the voters aren't too hard on them. And then we have 2 more games on Wednesday. LSU travels to number 6 Kentucky at 9 o'clock. Yeah, so that's the ESPN 9 o'clock game.
Yeah.
Kentucky's playing really well. They're really good. And in a year where you weren't talking about them being good because you thought they fell off, they didn't fall off.
Nah, Kentucky is.
Newsflash.
Yeah, Kentucky's really
They're
good.
really good.
I agree.
And then number 3, Wisconsin, who will have their head coach, but they will be without one player. They will travel to Minnesota. So hopefully everyone keeps their hands to themselves in that game, and nothing else pops off. And then we figure the biggest day in college basketball each week is Saturday. So we definitely wanted to give you guys the top 25 matchups coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of games Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of games. You want to go like 1 for 1 or just?
Yeah, no, I could actually round them off.
Yeah, there you go.
Number 4, Purdue at Michigan State. Speaking of Michigan State, did you see what Izzo said about the Juwan Howard situation?
I saw what he said about the getting rid of the handshake line.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. Okay, that makes
yeah.
sense. Okay, well, he ended it with like he talked about the situation for 5 minutes, and then he was like, but I'm not gonna comment on a situation I don't know about. And it was just like, well, you just talked about it for 5 minutes, so
he said he would make his players shake invisible hands.
Yeah,
I love it.
I should have said that part. That is funny.
I love it.
But number 6 Kentucky then on Saturday goes to Arkansas. That'll be at 2. Number 20 Texas goes to West Virginia. We've talked about Huggy before and how much we like him. So that West Virginia always, especially at home, puts up a good matchup. That's also at 2. Auburn going to 17 Tennessee at 4. That should be a pretty good matchup in the SEC. Number 12 UCLA at Oregon State. That's also at 4. Number 19 Murray State. What a surprise at Southeastern Mississippi State.
Missouri State.
Missouri State. Sorry,
Yeah.
I read it wrong.
No, you're good.
5 p.m. We got number 7 Duke at Syracuse. Listen, I was just talking the other day about how much I love Carmelo Anthony and how I fell in love with him at Syracuse, but I really don't like Syracuse.
Yeah, the Carrier Dome has held some classic Duke.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Never forget when Rodney Hood dunked from like.
Me too.
He jumped out of Syracuse. Like,
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Fun fact: the game that Duke lost, wasn't the UCLA team, whatever the really good team that they lost to, one of Coach K's first year. That was at the Carrier Dome.
Okay.
Which I always found interesting that, he's got to go back there every year and just look at it.
Yeah, especially now that they're
right. Now it's every year. He's got to be like, man, just reminded of that terrible day. Number 9, the Syracuse and Duke at Syracuse, that's at 6. Number 9, Texas Tech at TCU, also at 6. Number 13, Wisconsin at Rutgers at 6. South Carolina at 24, Bama, another ranked SEC team, 6 p.m. Arizona going to Colorado. That should actually be a fairly good one.
Yeah.
Kansas at Baylor. That's going to be a good one. 8 p.m. Gonzaga at 23 St. Mary's. I don't think that'll be worth it.
It shouldn't be. Yeah.
2 ranked teams, right? USC at Oregon. So blah. Go Oregon, I guess. How about, though, college basketball ramping up? We're only like 2-3 weeks away from the conference tournaments.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from this Sunday, Selection Sunday.
Right. So, I mean, it is getting to, as we talked about before, that crunch time.
Yeah.
So, ton of college basketball Saturday to watch. So, I mean, and Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's shaping up to be, I think, like all other sports as of late, just wonky in the in the tournaments. So
Absolutely.
Super excited for it.
It's been getting more crazy, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. The NBA is back on Thursday.
Right, which is super exciting.
Super exciting after the All-Star break. The guys get back, and now, I've heard it said a few different times. The season starts after Christmas.
Yeah.
The season starts after the All-Star game.
Oh, for most of the players, absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, excited that the All-Star break is finally here and gone, because that means James Harden's going to suit up and
on Friday
play some basketball. So.
Yep, that's super exciting. So we figured we would highlight the national the national games, as the NBA will have a big slate.
Absolutely, especially with baseball
trying to catch up,
not being around, and the NFL obviously being
over. So yeah. So on Thursday you got the 6 seed Boston Celtics traveling to the 8 seed Brooklyn Nets. That's your 7 o'clock game on TNT. Shout out FanDuel. They have the risk-free same-game parlay. So tap into hashtag Operation Bankroll, and you will maybe see my same-game parlay. I'm not a big same-game parlay guy, but it's free. It's for me. So we'll probably hit that up. And then the nightcap game is the number 2 Golden State Warriors traveling to number 10 Portland. I'm sure Steph's going to want to continue to cook, as he always does. So I'm pretty sure Portland's still down some guys. CJ McCollum might be back, but he just got traded.
No, CJ, he's with the Pelicans.
Yeah, so I think that should probably...
Speaking of the Pelicans, man, Zion, missing on them? I like Zion, but what is going on?
Yeah, no, it's kind of a sad situation.
It is.
ESPN always has the Friday night games in the NBA. So we got number 1, the 1 seed Miami Heat, which is awesome. I can't help but not love Spoelstra. I love Jimmy Butler. I love
Spoelstra too.
Yeah, he's a hell of a coach. His story's great.
Yes.
Obviously, LeBron and D Wade meant a lot, but they weren't everything. His Miami Heat traveled to the number 12 New York Knicks. The Knicks have just been bad after they were had a good season last year, and everyone was kind of high on them at the beginning of the year.
I'll hit on the Knicks in a second, but what you said about Spoelstra, something that always stuck with me about LeBron, when he goes everywhere, right? Coaches either rotate, or when he's gone, they're gone. Spoelstra was there before and won championships, and Spoelstra's been in championships after him.
Against him.
Right, but so that, But, and what you said about the Knicks as well, hot start, really, really good season last year for what their expectations were. Hot start, but as of right now, not even in the playoffs.
That's 12 seed. It's back to New York Knicks basketball. Yeah. And then the nightcap on Friday would be the number 8 Clippers at the number 9 Lakers. Same building, so it's not really. They're not traveling anywhere, but that's your 10 o'clock game on ESPN.
Always a home game for the Lakers, no matter who's the home team in that one.
Yeah. Looks like the NBA knows Saturday is for college basketball, so they did put one game on at 8 p.m. You got number 8 Brooklyn Nets traveling to the number 5 Milwaukee Bucks.
Which all those losses there towards the end of the All-Star break with that. I mean, that was big for the Nets because they were in the top 3 seed.
Yeah, then they fell off. They have a lot of shit going on off the court that doesn't make it easy for them guys. I think Milwaukee's gonna really start to turn it on.
Yeah.
Really around that corner, they might make a run at the top 3 seeds.
I agree.
I could see that. Sunday though, going over this, preparing for the show, I was really happy when I stumbled upon the the plate on Sunday of college or national basketball.
Yes.
The NBA. It's super stacked.
Yes. Good games.
Each time slot. So you got started off at 1 p.m. Number 3 Philly with James Harden, I would imagine. At the number 12 Knicks. So that'll be awesome to see Joe and James and all them guys.
I just thought about it.
They come out of the gates.
Something that Ben Simmons will always be able to tell. He never lost to the Knicks as a Sixer.
Well, good for him.
It's a pretty good sign.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I hope he loses his first game.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
The second game on Sunday on ABC is this will be a dandy. Number 4 Utah at number 1 Phoenix. The Suns are good. Chris Paul, I think he's out.
With the finger.
Yeah, it was weird. They said he was out, but then he was suited up for the All-Star game. Super
Played a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, super weird. So definitely.
I think that was for the 75 thing. Wasn't he in the 75?
Yeah.
I think that was all because of the 75 thing, if I had to guess.
That makes sense.
A normal year, I don't know, but a normal year, I highly doubt he would actually have shown up.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where the Suns go over the next 6 to 8 weeks
I agree with
without
that,
him running the ship.
I really like Booker and I really like Ayton, but he really has been
Chris Paul.
the centerpiece. So
he's a floor general at the highest level.
I agree.
And then at 7:30, you have number 5 in the West, the Mavs traveling to number 2 Golden State. Like I said, I fully anticipate Golden State to turn it up to max level and just make a run at this thing. Wiggins, Thompson, Curry, I would not be surprised if they really capitalize on Chris Paul taking
I agree with that.
Being out.
I agree with that.
And make a huge run. And then the most boring game, glad they saved it for last. Bron's my guy, but you got the number 12 Pelicans going to the Lakers, number 9 Lakers, 10 p.m. on ESPN. That I'm not really too excited about, if you could tell. So let's just move on. No. Super excited for the NBA slate, though.
Yeah.
Like we touched on, I think it's time that it really
ramps up. Yeah, I agree with that. You'll see I think everyone's already been kind of getting there, but you'll see the best of the best getting to the top.
Yeah. We still have there's some more events going on this weekend, so it's never seems to be a dull moment. I've noticed kind of just looking through and seeing the feedback and stuff on the show. I noticed that a lot of people do like the UFC portion, so we figure we hammer it. We have a free one this week. I guess it's not necessarily free. If you have ESPN Plus, it's free.
Yeah.
But we have a great UFC Vegas 49. You have Islam Makhachev. He's 21-1 with 10 submissions. So this guy, I believe he is out of Russia. He's a super great grappler, great ground and pound. 21-1. Definitely has some experience. I did see a clip of him today working with Khabib Nurmagomedov, that's always a good sign when you're when you're training with someone who's 29-0. So unbelievable. He's fighting Bobby Green. Bobby Green's a great story. This guy fought 14 days ago. The guy who was slated to fight Makhachev got injured in training. Bobby Green said, "Yeah, I just beat the shit out of somebody, but I'll drop 15, 20 pounds. Come fight this guy who's only got 1 loss. Why not?"
Trying to do it.
I'm trying to get on a main event fight, so this is how I'm going to get Dana's attention.
Yeah.
But Bobby Green's 29-12, so he's not lacking experience in the cage at all. And he has a half-inch reach advantage. So not really anything substantial on the reach advantage there, but like I said, he's fresh out of battle. He didn't take much damage, so that's obviously why he could do this.
Yeah.
So
29 wins is still nothing to...
Oh yeah, he's been in the octagon more than 40 times,
right,
so that's huge.
Yeah.
And they are going to be at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. That's where all of these UFC Fight Night cards are. The main card starts at 7 p.m. Prelims start at 4 p.m. So tune into that. The matchmakers have been doing a great job in the UFC. I mean, they've really been putting together some wars on the women's and the men's side. So I've been super pleased to watch those on Saturday nights. From a betting standpoint, there really wasn't much options available. You could just pick the fight, but Makhachev is minus 850 favorite. So you'd have to lay like an astronomical amount of juice on that to make that make any sense. But stay tuned as the fight gets closer. They may add some props. I would look at my pick if they give us the option. I would take Makhachev by submission. It probably might be only like plus 110 or something, but it's still plus money.
Yep.
And I think that'd be your safe bet. I really think he'll come out and capitalize on just the fact that he's way more technically sound than Bobby Green.
So a flyer on Bobby Green plus 850. I don't know what the plus is. It's probably not 850, but whatever the number is.
It's plus significant.
There you go. Yeah.
Throw it on. I mean, he's a warrior.
I don't know anything about UFC.
He's got super heavy hands. So if he catches Makhachev, he could certainly. It could be night lights out. So super excited for that. Like I said, like I've been really tapping into my UFC bag. So I'm all in on it. It's a great thing to have these weekly fights. And please stay tuned for the pay-per-view ones. I will certainly up the intensity a little bit.
With the betting you were just talking about, a lot of it's not up yet, but for most of our shows, it might be by that point because the bigger ones, it might be by that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
For this one particular,
Yeah, for this one, they don't have any early props, but for the big ones, they certainly do. Super boost and all those things. So stay tuned.
So moving on, also going on, well, it happened last weekend, but we'll talk about what's going on this week. Last weekend in golf, the Genesis Open, we had, what was his name?
Joaquin Niemann.
I'm sorry, Joaquin. I couldn't think of his first name. Joaquin.
The only reason it stuck with me is because of Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
PGA Tour's in the thick of it.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
I was about to say, we're actually only a couple weeks away from, like, all of the big tournaments starting to kick off and whatnot. So, I didn't watch much of this one, but...
I followed along.
I did follow along. I didn't watch a whole lot of it.
Yeah, he's 23 years old from Chile, so he definitely wasn't... He wasn't expected... He took it at 19 under. So I think he was as high as 21 under at one point in time. Then he lost 2 strokes on the back 9 in the 4th round.
Yeah.
But he was. I was
gonna say because I can remember every time I looked up, he was up by a couple of strokes, more than what he won by. So that does make sense.
He's currently ranked 32nd in the PGA Tour. So I mean, I'm sure he'll crack top 30 now.
Yeah, he'll definitely move up because of that one.
Yeah.
How about Colin? I mean, a good showing for the weekend.
Yeah, Mark Colin, he's number 2 overall, only to John Rahm. So he's setting himself up well for the run at the of the PGA and the Masters and stuff. These are all tune-up.
Well, I was going to say,
tournaments
so
for
like,
those.
And here's the thing: you said we're in the thick of it. This week, you got the Honda Classic.
Yep.
Honda Classic actually used to be a fairly significant tournament, but not a lot of the big players playing in it.
Yeah, as I was going through the field, there was a lot of guys who were in the top half of the leaderboard this past week that actually aren't going to be golfing this week.
And I think the Honda Classic used to not be back to back with the tournament, so it makes sense that
that makes sense.
This year. But it's in Florida,
Palm Beach.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, $8 million purse, big purse for you or I, but not a huge purse for the PGA. That also might be the reason that a lot of them are.
Yeah, last week was 12 mil.
There you go. That's it. That's a really good example of the difference. The favorite,
Sanjay Im. He's plus 1,300. So there, that just goes to show you Vegas is
not even sure.
Not sure.
Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah,
he finished 32nd last week. But he is a consistent golfer.
Yeah.
Just kind of looking at his backstory, he has 5 top 10s in 2020. Masters runner-up last year, and he's made the cut 83% of the time that he started. So that's huge.
That's an insane number.
That's an insane number. Yeah, because like I think I was looking up like Brooks and Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed. Those guys didn't make the cut this past week. So like just 83% of your starts, and he has 35 starts. So that's definitely
he's put enough tournaments under him for that to be a pretty significant percentage.
Surely. Obviously we love our bets. We love making money. Yeah. So always want to highlight the best value. I would say the best value. There's not really much value on the board, so I did have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for this. But tapping into Joaquin Niemann again, and I know it's very rare to see someone win back-to-back weeks in the tour, but like I said, the field's down. He won last week. He finished 6th in the Farmers Insurance Open earlier this year in January as well. So he's been up there. He knows what pressure golf is. So I would say if you're not going to take the favorite, Joaquin Niemann.
I like the idea of riding the hot hand.
Yeah.
Also, coming up this weekend, and I should have did the research on this one. I know there's an Xfinity race. I'm not 100% sure if there's a truck race or not, but NASCAR.
There is an Xfinity race. It's the 300.
Yeah, okay. That I knew that I was going to say. I knew that was going to, they have one on Saturday.
Yep.
But the first I want to get into the 500 real fast. Austin Cindric. I mean,
I didn't know the name.
Listen, I knew his name because I do watch ARCA and then the truck and then the Xfinity, so I knew him because he went up through that ladder. But I mean, at the end of the day, he did something that like Trevor Bayne, another guy that he was a rookie that won the 500. That's just such. It just doesn't happen a lot. Awesome. What a great way for him to start his career in NASCAR as well. He's driving the 2-car, which I know that you know enough about NASCAR back in the day. The 2-car was a significant. Rusty Wallace was right, and then it was a big deal when Kurt Busch took it over, and then Brad Keselowski ran the 2-car forever after that. So the 2-car has been for Penske kind of a staple almost. So for him to get a win, one, to get that ride, and then to get a win in that ride the first time you're in it, really big deal. Had his guy Blaney, which is his teammate, pushing him in the 12. But just, I won't go over the whole race, but the final lap was awesome in the sense of and Ryan Blaney said this, and I think this is the best way to describe the whole thing. Once he knew that it was either going to be him or his teammate, and he didn't say this out loud, but I'll say it, or his best friend Bubba Wallace, who isn't on their team, because Bubba was on the inside. Once he knew one of those three were going to win, he said that about him and his teammate, but once he knew that's when he made his move. And I went up watching the last lap replayed. He was like perfect timing too. He ends up getting pushed up in the wall. He doesn't even, I don't think, finish 3rd or 4th because he got pushed in the wall. But the idea of it was great race, great idea of, if you know enough about NASCAR, how teammates worked and whatnot, and then great idea of he went for it.
That's awesome.
And Cindric actually being the rookie to hold him off, or even hold off Bubba Wallace, which was,
shout out Bubba.
We just talked about Michael Jordan earlier. That is such a great story to me.
Awesome.
Man, my bet last week, Eric Jones, I would have had him. He was in it. He was in the top 5 with 5 laps to go, and a wreck. And not even his fault. He was trying to avoid the wreck, but I mean, NASCAR, whatever. But I was that close. I was man, feeling real good about it all.
It's racing, baby.
But the thing about Austin Cindric, the last thing I want to say before I move on to this week, what impressed me the most, his average position of the race, his first ever Daytona 500. He's in his main car. Was 6th. He averaged 6th position throughout the whole entire 200 laps. That is absolutely incredible, especially for a rookie. So shout out to him again. And to say Trevor Bayne also, proves that it doesn't mean a whole lot. The rest of his career could still be nothing. But you'll always have that one. And two, I would say if you're going to start off a great career, that's a great way to do it. But this week is the Auto Club 400. It's in Fontana, out in California, San Bernardino, California. Alex Bowman won it last year, which, shout out to my son Blaze, his favorite driver apparently. So this week, my parents went out and got him a bunch of little die casts, because I always had all the little die casts. And so I always show him, he has a Dale Earnhardt car, he has a Dale Earnhardt Jr. car, and he has a Chase Elliott, who is my favorite driver. He has a ton of other ones, but I always show them they're my favorite. And so we're sitting there, and before the race, I was, asking him, and I was like, well, who you rooting for? And he picked that one. A couple hours later, I tested him, still his guy. A couple days later, still his guy. So Alex Bowman, I guess, is now my son's favorite driver, which I discovered this weekend.
That's awesome.
I always find this to be interesting. The track was built in 1997. Jeff Gordon has 3 wins on it. I know he raced for a good while after 97, but most of his winning was done right around that point. So the fact that track was built, and a lot of his wins were mainly done before that, but he's still one of the most winningest drivers on there, and I'm pretty sure he's from California. It's pretty cool. Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth of Kyle Busch also have 3.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Kyle Busch still racing, so maybe he breaks and gets 4. It is a 2-mile track, 300 laps. Stages will be breaking down 1 and 2 into 60, and then the final one's 80. Larson, per usual, is the favorite, plus 400. We'll go into the betting side. I'll do the same thing I did last week because I loved it. I'm taking Brad K to win, okay, plus 2,000. And then I don't love the idea of a driver back-to-back in the top 5 because Bubba just finished in the top 5. But Bubba at 2,200 plus 2,200, I can't pass that up. Bubba in the top 5.
That's so I think that'll be I think I'm gonna ride with you.
Those are my flyers.
Team ride on Bubba at top 5.
And the thing with me with Brad K, I like the value at 2,000 because his car consistently has been like. I know it was only 1 week, but like his whole team's like the Roush Fenway, because obviously the whole team, they were running really well. So I really think that he has an opportunity as if you're gonna take a flyer on a winner. So
awesome.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about.
That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome for episode number
3,
which is my favorite number because Earnhardt and Iverson, a little behind the scenes. Speaking of behind the scenes in the future, we're going to be doing. We have plans to like go to sporting events or even just watch games,
watch parties, all types of stuff.
There's going to be a million things. Hopefully, do some live stuff so you can interact with us while we're doing it. A bunch of different ideas that will definitely open up down the road. If you have any ideas like that, please
hit us up.
Throw us some. Heck, if you want to be involved in some of the ideas, throw us some.
We're
We're always open ears to hear some ideas about what we can do in the future. The Hoodie and Oz pod, which I think we've settled on.
I think that's it. Yeah, the Hoodie and Oz pod.
So that means we're gonna have a Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at you in no time. And when we do get that, please,
you'll be the first to know.
Yes, please. Follow, like, do all that kind of stuff. Let your friends know about it.
Yes, please. Definitely subscribe. All those good things.
Yes, on YouTube. Yes,
we love it. Help us grow. We really feel like it's going to be a rocket ship. It's going to take off. So
that's the goal.
Please get on now. One thing. Appreciate all the feedback. Love you guys so much for it. We are absolutely going to look to kind of break the show up. We know we love the whole hour and a half, however long it is.
However long this one possibly might.
We love that. I love that as a.
Me too.
As a podcast connoisseur, I like to think of. But we're gonna definitely take some ideas and we're gonna look to break it up into the segments that we did and put those videos out on a daily basis, not all at once.
And shout out to your feedback on that, like you said, but also shout out to the people who came before us, the people who influenced us. That's
absolutely.
What they do to set the blueprint for us.
100%. Yeah.
For that,
we've gotten mentions. We've watched. Those who have come before us, and it just makes sense. The more content, the more opportunities for people to click, the more times they'll click. So
absolutely,
that's kind of where we're at. So please stay tuned, and like Hoodie said, the Hoodie and Oz pod, Twitter, Facebook, and Insta will be live momentarily. Bear with us, but I think I'm super excited for the future.
Yes.
And I think it's only up from here.
Oh man, me too. I'm excited for everything. And back to just wrapping up for episode 3. I thought episode 3 went great. I love the state of the franchise.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Very, very informative. Like I said, I'm having a blast.
Well, if you're still watching, thank you so much. Please let everyone know about it. And